something's gonna blow. Flags fade on the old hotel, tourists drink their rum and go. Radio talks into accents about a brand new vote. Cuba, 51st state of the sun, stars and stripes in the Caribbean. Same blue waves, a different anthem, still the same red in our drum. Cuba, 51st state of the sun, side by side on that banner we run. From Havana down to Key West, we rise as 51. Ball game in the busted barrio, kids swap caps, argue calls. One said soon we're buying hot dogs in a big new stadium wall. Street band plays old boleros, slides into something strange. A pledge in a different language, but the hope feels just the same. Cuba, 51st state of the sun, stars and stripes in the Caribbean. Same blue waves, a different anthem, still the same red in our drum. Cuba, 51st state of the sun, side by side on that banner we run. From Havana down to Key West, we rise as 51. Will they still dance till the morning? Will Abuela save her songs? Can a brand new piece of paper hold a hurt that's old this long? We've been islands in our heads, farther than the sea is wide. Maybe 50 stars and one more can fit under this tide. Oh yeah! Cuba, 51st state of the sun, stars and stripes in the Caribbean. Same blue waves, a different anthem, still the same red in our drum. Cuba, 51st state of the sun, side by side on that banner we run. From Havana down to Key West, we rise as 51.
Midnight on the rooftop, old flag in my hands, ancient lion on the canvas, facing steel and desert sand. They try to paint our story over with the blacked out lies and chains, but under every burned out poster I still hear our father's names. Persia will rise, I swear it. Hear that echo in my bones. From Shiraz streets to the Caspian stones. We're breaking their walls, we bear it. Every scar, every battle cry. You can cage your body, but the soul won't die. Mothers hide photographs, in silence, keeping rhythm in their hearts. Hey, for the brothers in prisons, carving dates into the stone. You are not forgotten, you are not alone. Pressure will rise, I swear it. Hear that echo in my bones. From terror roots to the ancient thrones. We're breaking their walls, we bear it. Every tear, every battle cry. You can cage your body, but the soul won't die. Pressure will rise. Oh, pressure will rise. We stand together till the falcons fly.
Good morning. Welcome to the NPC show. Deprogramming the world one NPC at a time. I'm your host, Frank. Today is, was it Wednesday? Wednesday, May 27, 2026. How's everyone doing? Give me 1 second. I gotta queue that up. I think we're ready to go there. Anyways, well, they're late. They ran late on that one. Well, we'll do that after the show. Anyways, guys, good morning. We don't have too long. We don't have too long of a show, so I should be able to burn through this. Thank you very much, Diane, for becoming a member or resuming her membership. There, at 13 months, she's got that Captain America shield in purple and orange. Thank you very much, dear. You are awesome. Thank you. Anyways, good morning, Jeff. Good morning, Barry, Bourbon, Electric Eye, Bendy. Good to see you, Don, Jerry, Daniel, Mary. Good to see you, Lewis, S. Renee, Judy, Tristan, Daniel. Okay, good to see you, Thomas, James Thomas. Hello to you, Zach, Rhoda, Lisa. Good to see you, Lisa. Bionic Fire Truck, Texas Honey. Good to see you. Good morning, Sherry, Robbie's, Combat Medic. Good to see you, Carl. Hello to you. Hello to everyone over on the Rumble side. We've got Gene, Dixie, Casey Supercharger, TB Kendall, Mary, America First Terry, and Jillian. Thanks for being here, dear. And hello to everyone over on Foxville. We got Too Many Isms and C-Ver. Hello to you too. Anywho, so we have it was a short show. It's not anymore. I just added like a bunch of stories to this. So we will, after we're done with the show, we will watch the Trump cabinet meeting here, everywhere. I'm going to keep it live. I don't have any live reads on Rumble, so I don't need a cut off of YouTube. So anywho, let's get going, guys. Let's see. Where's that? Come on, button work. There we go. First story of the day. Several employees are still missing after a massive chemical tank explosion at a facility in Washington State. Yeah. This is a second blue state chemical disaster almost. Well, this one's an actual disaster. And the other one was like 5 miles from Disneyland. Yeah.
Good morning, Michael. First responders have been monitoring the tank out here at this factory since the overnight hours. This following this deadly rupture, as still this morning, 9 people remain unaccounted for. Their family members for any answers. This morning, an urgent search for the 9 people still missing after a deadly chemical tank ruptured.
9 people still missing. That's amazing. But what, are their bodies vaporized or something?
We're reporting that a tank imploded.
Officials say at least 1 person was killed, 9 injured at the paper mill in Washington.
It looks like there's 3 people with chemical burns.
Authorities racing to the Nippon Dynawave Packaging Company around 7:15 Tuesday morning after a tank containing hazardous liquid imploded.
Stabilization efforts.
Imploded or exploded? Did it blow inward or outward? That's so weird, right? I mean, it's clearly all over the place. What do you mean by it imploded?
Remain extremely complex due to the ongoing hazards.
This photo provided by Cowlitz County News, a citizen-run Facebook.
Well, this part's dented in, so it might have been like that and then broke.
News site shows the aftermath of the violent blast. The crumpled tank, vehicles demolished. Another.
Wow, look at that. This whole top is missing of this van here. Wow.
Flipped upside down. The facility, which employs about 1,000 people, makes a variety of paper goods. Officials say the 900,000-gallon tank contains white liquor, a mixture of chemicals that can burn the skin or burn the lungs if inhaled. Efforts to find other victims temporarily called off overnight because the chemicals remaining in the tank made it too volatile.
Crews are actively assessing the structural integrity of that tank and working on plans to stabilize that tank before additional recovery operations can safely proceed.
The cause of the rupture unclear, but the Associated Press reports the company has been fined recently for health and safety violations.
Oh, so you have a track record of fucking up, huh? I got a question for you. How many DEI employees do you have?
What's happened here is a historic tragedy, tremendous loss of life.
Overnight, the
We
community
should have hired the people who are the most competent, not just based on their skin color.
gathering to hold a vigil as
Damn.
families are anxiously awaiting any information about their loved ones.
It's horrible seeing the people you love not having answers. It's hard to comfort them because you don't know what the outcome is going to be. It's just awful.
Giovanna Bernal says her father, Hilbert Bernal, died during the incident. Telling ABC News the grandfather was a one-of-a-kind and our community is already feeling the impact of his passing, adding, "We are so heartbroken." The factory releasing a statement saying recovery operations remain focused on safely accessing all affected areas of the facility, recovering victims, and supporting impacted families.
Nippon Dynawave Packaging. I wonder if that has any relevance to Nippon Steel, the Japanese company that tried to buy U.S. steel,
While ensuring the safety of emergency responders working within unstable conditions.
Anywho, that's yesterday's little story. We got a lot of these, huh? Yeah, we got to make disasters. We got an election to steal, don't we? And then all the MAGA candidates just keep winning. Anyways, next story. Texas DPS pulled over a box truck and found 20 illegal bean cake McGee's here. Look at that. Oh, they're chasing after him. They're chasing after him. Oh, get him. Get him. Afuera. Afuera. Anyhow, you guys get the idea. Where are they at? Oh, they're okay. So they're not even hiding in the box, the back area. They're actually hiding in the cab. 20 people, huh? They commute to work like this too. You guys ever seen their trucks? Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, you know, the Trump admin's been saying that 0 have gotten in. It's 0 that they've released into the country. They're still sneaking in. So we got to get that wall finished. Last I checked, they were busy painting it black. Maybe finish the wall first and then paint it black. I don't know. And they're painting it black so it's harder to climb. They can't climb it. Next story. This is out in Mexico. Pay attention to this kid right here. He lights that guy's hair on fire. Why? Because gringo. That's why. Yeah. Look at that kid. He can't be no more than like 6 years old. Isn't that messed up? Because he's white. Yeah. That little kid right there did it. Isn't that crazy? Let me tell you a story. When I was in kindergarten, the class that I was in had one black kid. Okay. And the teacher, one of the teachers, was pretty awful to him. Okay. And I didn't realize why, you know, because I was 6 years old. I didn't know what racism was. No one told me anything about racism. I didn't speak up because I didn't know what was going on. Right. It took until I was older, until when people started talking about racism and things like that, that I was like, oh, that's why she's treating him like crap because he's a black kid. And mind you, I was 6. I didn't speak up because I didn't know what it was. This kid is clearly 6 and younger. But he knows damn well what racism is. He knows damn well what a gringo is. He knows damn well which colored skin to screw with. Okay? And again, I say this because their parents teach them this. Okay? I have been racially hated on by very, very young Mexican kids in front of their parents, by the way. Their parents laugh like, oh, make fun of them. Ha, 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 ha. Yeah, their parents teach them this crap. That's why they're so racist. They don't allow you to be racist, but they are racist themselves. Yeah, they absolutely don't like any of you. Anyways, there's that. Thank you very much. I think that's David Stores. Is it? Thank you very much, David Stores, for the donation. Thank you, buddy. Keeping the channel alive. Thank you, Jave. Yay. All right, next story. What is this one? Ooh, the migration costs that Germany is dealing with is apparently $43 billion a year. Yeah, the country that can no longer afford to give 0.5% of their GDP to Ukraine for defense. Yeah, is busy giving $43 billion a year away to these people here who don't even like them, by the way. Don't like them, want to destroy their country, throw rocks at their women if their hair's not covered. They do that, by the way. There was a live streamer on New Year's Eve, a blonde woman, live streaming in the middle of Munich, trying to prove that, oh, it's safe for her to walk around in downtown Munich by herself, right? And twice during a live stream, someone threw a rock at her head because her hair wasn't covered. Yeah. And when you look around, it was all Arabs. It was all Muslims. Yeah, but hey, they did it to themselves. They don't really care about a national defense. They think these guys here are going to sign up to fight the Russians. Yeah, we're proud Germans now. They don't care about you. As soon as things get tough, they're going to go somewhere else. Easy as that. Okay? The moment Germany gets invaded by Russia, these guys are right back off to Syria. Yeah. Anyways, rest in peace, Germany. Yeah. Next story. Sweden apparently banned cousin marriages. Yeah, you know what demographic they're targeting there. Yeah, the Islamists who, for whatever reason, keep marrying each other's cousins. They keep marrying their cousins. Yeah. So very gross, very gross. This takes effect July 1st of this year. Oh, we're going to have some very angry goat fuckers now. Next story. During the pandemic, $900 billion in unemployment went out to help Americans. However, $135 billion of it was fraud. Yeah, it went to people who were either dead or weren't even supposed to receive it, or were double dipping or triple dipping, whatever's applying in multiple states. Some people applied in 4 or 5 states. Yeah.
So during the pandemic, we saw around $900 billion go out to really help Americans that had lost their job related to the pandemic. But looking back, out of that $900 billion, over $135 billion of that was stolen, fraud, taken from the American people, taken from the tax people, and it was done through sophisticated criminal rings. And it was also done just by people who were completely taking advantage of the systems, because we rely on the states to do a lot of the identification and verification checks. And what we saw was fraud was rampant. The money was just going out the door. Nobody was checking. And we're tired in this administration of pay first and verify later. So
So it's going to be interesting how the new unemployment system works, because I can tell you, and from my experience, I'm a 99er. I was unemployed for 99 weeks under the Obama administration, and it was not difficult at all to get that check every 2 weeks or so. Was it every week or every 2 weeks? I think every 2 weeks. Next story. Trump heard about the teen takeovers in Chicago where they ran over 5 police officers and says, teen takeover in Chicago, 5 officers badly hurt, mayor and governor are terrible, should call for help. Yeah, he should call for National Guard to come right back in, help them out. But no, they love the crime. They love replacing the blacks with Mexicans because Mayor Brendan Johnson is an Uncle Tom for the party of the KKK. Next story. An Alabama judge called herself the ultimate authority, and she was suspended after making racist remarks against a white clerk. I don't think I have to tell you what demographic she is, but yes, there she is. Yeah, suspended for making racist remarks. Oh, she's one of those. She's one of those. Oh my God, look at me. I'm so hot, y'all. You're either a leftover woman or you're cheating on your husband, that's for sure. we all know about these, guys. We all know about these, okay? Yeah, it ain't enough to have a happy family. You need to get attention 24/7 from the whole world. So you post videos like that. Look how pretty I am, y'all. And now you're suspended. Hope she gets fired. Oof. Yeah, they always do that. They always like to keep like one ugly friend around so it makes them look better. For contrast, you know? Yeah. Anyways, so she got fired. Oh, not fired. She's suspended. Where was this anyways? Judge Yashiba Blanchard. Wow. She was hit with a 120 page complaint. She delayed cases to walk her dog and even attacked a white woman with racially charged comments. Where is this? Why? Where's the location? Here we go. Jefferson County, wherever that is. Is that Texas? That might be Texas. I don't know. Yeah. South of, was it southeast of Houston, maybe? Yeah, anyways, I don't know what state this is. Next story. Tim Burchett is introducing something called the Drop Act. Yeah, it is exactly what it sounds like. Because when you drop and you dangle. Yeah. If you're not aware of the Jussie Smollett stunt, just Jesse Smollett, Kamala Harris's nephew, he did that stunt where he pretended he was beat up and some MAGA people tried to hang him, right? When reality was, it was two Nigerian dudes that he paid to do that. Okay, and so he did that stunt so that Congress would have a reason to ban hangings, public executions and hangings. Okay, he said, "Oh, it's racist." So Tim Burchett wants to bring it back. Good stuff. The kids love it. The kids want to see some danglings. It probably won't be public, but it should be. It should be to send a message to people. Yeah, you F around, you will dangle about. Yeah. Anyways. It'd be Fafa, right? F around, hang about, Faha, dangle, Fada. I don't know, guys. Anyways. Tim says, I have a bill to bring back dangling. Let's see if all the tough talk by Congress holds up. Support the Drop Act. Oh, yeah, just talking about this girl. This girl here was raped and murdered. She had stab wounds and everything. Mary says that was an Alabama judge. Jefferson County, Alabama. Okay, cool. Thank you, dear. Anywho. So there's that next story. The president is going to be starting to use NDAs across the government, yet to prevent all these leaks.
The administration is planning to make it standard procedure for federal workers to sign non-disclosure agreements, NDAs. The stated goal is to stop leaks of confidential government information. Fox News reviewed a copy of a draft notice posted to the federal registrar by the Office of Personnel Management. That is the agency that oversees the federal workforce. The draft says individual agencies can opt out of the NDAs. Federal workers already have whistleblower protections, setting up a potential legal battle between federal workers who do not wish to sign and agency heads that want the opposite. The head of the union representing federal and D.C. government employees says the rule is part of a continuing effort to silence federal employees.
Good stuff. So now, not only do we have the ability to fire them, with these NDAs, you have the ability to sue them. You can sue. Hey, Kathy, good to see you, dear. Hope you're feeling better. Free bird. Free bird. She's a free bird today. Next story. President Trump has appointed Pam Bondi to the White House AI panel. Yeah, very bizarre. I'm not excited about it. I mean, she has little to no technical background. Okay, she's a lawyer. She's a Florida lawyer, and she's going to be part of the AI panel. You know what she does have experience in is censoring and redacting names of her friends on the Epstein files. Remember that? Yeah. So guess what she's going to be in the AI committee for? Censorship. That's what I'm guessing. Otherwise, I don't know what kind of expertise she could bring to that table. She probably doesn't know how to build a computer. Very basic one. Let alone an AI one. Anyway, so Bonnie will be tasked with facilitating coordination between the government and AI companies on the panel. Bonnie will also serve in a newly established advisory role on national infrastructure. National infrastructure. Are we talking about physical or technological? You know, I don't know. Next story. Yesterday was a hearing. It was like a board meeting. Like, thank you very much, Mopi, for the coffees. Thank you very much, dear. You're keeping the channel alive. Thank you, but confetti's not working. The lights aren't working. There we go. There we go. Thank you, Mo. Oh, my lights are jacked up. Anyways, thank you, dear. You are the best. You're propping this channel up. Thank you, dear. Anyways, yesterday, JD Vance did a kind of a town hall meeting. What was it called? It was like it wasn't a town hall. What was it called? It was like a meeting of a bunch of people to discuss fraud, right? Kind of like you know how they had the SPLC manufacturing hate hearing where 0 Democrats showed up? Same thing happened here.
Our Vice President Vance will hold a roundtable with state attorneys general on anti-fraud initiatives. This comes as the Trump administration cracks down on a wide range of fraud. We will bring that event to you live when it happens, but for now, America Reports.
A live look at the White House now ahead of a rare and critical cabinet
meeting. Look at that. They already got the stadium built for the UFC match.
Happening at Camp David tomorrow. It comes as tensions rise after the U.S. carried out defensive strikes in southern Iran. Welcome.
Anyways, that's unreal. I could have trimmed it a long time ago, buddy. Next story. Mamdani has announced that they are going to be seizing property.
Through our new citywide campaign, Fix the City, we will focus on the worst landlords in New York City.
Oh, yeah.
When necessary, we will take aggressive legal action to remove negligent owners and property managers.
Yeah. So in other words, they're going to seize property using regulation. Okay. This countertop is tile, which it grows mold. You have to replace all this with granite. Every single unit in your entire complex. Okay. So guess what's going to happen? The cost of all that gets factored into rent. And everyone's cheering, yay, yay, we get shiny new apartments. Yeah.
And for buildings that have suffered chronic neglect, we will work to transfer ownership to responsible stewards.
We'll work to transfer ownership to responsible stewards, okay? Now, it probably won't be legal for them to seize it, okay? Because you have a right to private property in this country, but they could force a sale, okay? And guess what? If you're going to be forced to sell, right, obviously there's going to be a lot of stuff to fix. So whoever's buying is going to factor that into the purchase price. So guess what they're going to do? Not offer that much. And guess what you're going to have to do? Take the deal. Yay, communism. Yay, we're all cheering. Yay.
Stewards that include community land trusts, nonprofits.
Community land trusts and nonprofits. I don't think I have to talk about how scammy these nonprofits have been. Okay? Oh, help the homeless. How much money actually makes it down to them? Less than 1%?
Nonprofits. Or even the tenants themselves.
Yeah. So in other words, they're just going to take it and give it to the tenants, or perhaps sell it to the tenants. Probably have government paid for taxes on the interest. Government paid closing costs. Government paid taxes. Government paid interest. That's probably what they'll be doing. And by the way, we've been seeing this already. Okay, the moment he got elected, there was a lot of real estate in New York that went up for sale. Okay, those listings got delisted and then relisted. Why? Because once it's like 90 days old, you know, realtors start to filter them out. Oh, I only want to see what's been put up the last 30 months. I'm already done looking at all the old ones. So they delist it and relist it. Okay, so there's basically a massive number of relistings, meaning that not only are there a lot for sale, they're not selling. Okay, and if you're not familiar with the rent control they tried to do in the 70s, that resulted in a lot of fires. Yes, because if you have an apartment complex that's worth a certain amount of money, you want to sell it at a certain price, right? You want to sell it for at least what you got it for. Well, unfortunately, if the rent is capped at this much, anyone who wants to buy it can't sell it. They're not going to pay more than a certain amount because they know that they're only going to make this much times 100 units, right? So guess what the owner's going to have to do? Set it on fire. But obviously not before buying fire insurance. Yeah. So we've already seen a lot of these fires out in Brooklyn. We're going to see even a lot. By the way, in the 70s, a third of Brooklyn was burnt down. Yeah. And you look around like, oh, house burnt. House burnt. Yeah. So that's what it's going to go back to now. And we're going to see this happening real quick because I'll tell you this. They cannot, I mean, I don't know what kind of rent control New York has, but if you're going to be imposing all these regulations on them all of a sudden, they need to raise that rent up, or otherwise they're going to take like what, 50 years to make back the money for the renovations. Yeah. So exactly, Double Brewski says rent control prevents landlords from earning enough money to upgrade, repair the buildings. Permits in New York are expensive. Exactly, a lot of red tape to do anything out there. So New York is going to go to absolute shit. Obviously, he's not going to be able to just seize it. However, they can make life difficult for the owner, right? I mean, we've seen the Tren de Agua seized for whole apartment complexes in Denver. Remember that? Yeah. Next story. Xavier Becerra wants free healthcare for illegals. Boasts about jobs that he took from Americans. Boasts about it, guys. Why? Because he's brown and he's racist. And he wants jobs and every government services available to only his people. Meanwhile, whites still got to pay for it, I bet. Right?
If you're working hard, I want you to have health care. I guess Steve Hilton doesn't care if they work really hard. He looks at their status, and that's about it.
Well, he says that they broke the law. He says that he immigrated here legally, and that spending money to give somebody health care is incentivizing bad behavior.
He doesn't seem to mind that the price of food is a little lower because these are the folks who are picking the crops. He doesn't seem to mind that the places that you can buy to live in are places that these folks built. He doesn't seem to mind that they're the folks that are taking care of probably one of his relatives, probably taking care of his yards. He seems
got it. So it's all about the what the people built. I got a question for all you DC politicians. What have you ever built? Huh? What have you ever built and you're paying yourselves, what, $500,000 a year in salaries? Oh, so it's all about the people who built it. Got it. What an idiot. You know, you probably should have mentioned that to the real estate developer before you put in millions of dollars to build anything, right? Oh, if it goes to the people, then why am I putting money into this? Why don't I put money into a different country instead? Huh?
to mind that they don't have documents, but he doesn't seem to mind that they do so much of the work in California.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. We don't need them to do the work, firstly. Secondly, they got paid. Okay? If you're saying that the house belongs to them because they built it, then how about this? How about you just don't pay them and they just build it? And then maybe if we feel like if we want our land back, we'll just torch the house. Huh? It's not ours. It is our land, though. It is our, land, our piece of land they built their house on, right? You guys are fucking stupid, I swear to God. I hate these people. They literally taking hard work and been like, yeah, we're not gonna do that anymore. We're gonna give it to anyone who looks who has my skin color right here. I can't believe he's in second place. It used to be Steve Hilton and Bianco, Sheriff Bianco, and then what's his face? Swalwell. Swalwell dropped out, and now he picked up all of Swalwell's backers. So now he's in second place. So the runoff will not be two Republicans. The runoff is now going to be him versus Steve Hilton, and there's no way Steve Hilton's winning. They haven't fixed the elections out there. Next story. Karen Bass is caught electioneering. Look at this.
Hello, everybody.
This is her making an appearance at a polling center. Okay? Election laws do not allow you to campaign within 100 feet of a polling center. In fact, if you guys can recall, there were a lot of people who would show up with a MAGA hat and be turned away at the poll. Says you can't wear that hat here, or if you have a Trump shirt, you can't wear it. That is an actual law. You cannot be there to campaign while within 100 feet of the polling centers. It's could be considered voter intimidation. Okay, but here she did it anyways. So Spencer Pratt did file a complaint about this. I don't know what's gonna get done about it though. Spencer Pratt caught Karen Bass red-handed violating election law. Yeah, she did it, and she filmed herself doing it and uploaded it. Yeah, they certainly know that they are untouchable, don't they? Yeah, that's about Dropbox. Yeah, it's officially a polling center now. Yeah, and it's, what is it? It's 100 feet. Anyways, yeah, I can't believe they're still using these boxes, huh? It's crazy. Next story. Bad news out of South Carolina. The rhinos have voted with the Democrats to not update the map by to make it effective by this November. Yeah. So we're going to remain with one Democrat seat out in South Carolina.
What exactly is happening in South Carolina right now? I'm kind of blown away as I see.
We don't need to hear them. This is MSNBC. They're just going to be like, oh, yeah, we got our DEI map. Yeah. Justice and equity. Yeah, it's several Republicans joined the Democrats, and it failed 20-24. So we have several more names to add to our list of people to primary. I already mentioned them the other day. Oh, here they are. Wow, that's a lot of Republicans, huh? Was that 12? 12 Republicans voted with the Democrats, huh? Okay, well, these 12 right here will most certainly be primaried the next time they run for office. I'm glad they're taking names. I thought they just spiked the ball and went home. Like, oh, Trump's president, everything's fine again, and went home. No, we got a lot of primarying to do, and Trump's been doing really good with it. Anywho, Florida has a victory today. Their new congressional map has passed. Look at that. Not only has it passed, he signed it, and then also the court says this is fine. So Florida's court says, yeah, you guys passed it. The executive signed it. And then we're reviewing it, and there's nothing wrong with it. Good. Congratulations. 24 Republican seats, 4 Democrat seats. Yeah, that is hilarious. Hey, you guys wanted to gerrymander. Now we're playing your game. How's it working for you? Next story. Al Green lost last night. Yeah, good stuff. Al Green, the guy, he lost to this guy right here. Prior to this, well, currently they both have a seat because they're both in separate districts. However, due to redistricting, their district has been combined. So they have to run against each other here for Texas 18. Al Green, he lost. He only got like a third of the votes. So he lost. Al Green's that old Native American looking guy that walks around with a cane that keeps interrupting Trump's State of the Union. He did it twice now. Yeah. So he gone. Jasmine Crockett's gone. Good stuff. Next story. Mace Middleton beat Chip Roy. Look at that. Yeah. Mace Middleton, we don't know who he is, but he's not an unknown. We actually did, by the way, a special coverage last night, a special live stream covering the results of the Texas runoff. We had this race. We also had the Paxton race, who Paxton won that one right here. Bam. 2/3 of the vote for Ken Paxton. Look at that. Yeah, so he beat John Cornyn bad. I think he would have won even without Trump's endorsement. But now it's just more spiteful, right? Because John Cornyn and his crew refused to pass the SAVE Act. And that's why Trump backed Ken Paxton. Yeah. And by the way, we were watching the votes come in last night. Like right when the polls closed, they released the numbers for the early voting, right? And it was already like Ken Paxton was leading like 60 to 40. 60%, 40%. Ken Paxton was leading. And day of votes were all Paxton because those were all post Donald Trump endorsement. So he might have won even without Trump's endorsement. So that's good stuff there. Back to Middleton, though. Middleton's not such a bad dude. He's very good on oil. And in fact, I believe he's more aligned with MAGA than Chip Roy. I heard Chip Roy is not very oil friendly. And also, this, by the way, is not for Chip Roy's seat in D.C., okay? He basically decided he was not going to run for re-election there so he could run for this position, which is to replace Ken Paxton. Ken Paxton was currently AG of Texas. The winner of this actually is going to become AG of Texas, and I think he's better fit for that. I think Middleton's better fit for that. Chip Roy should have stayed in D.C. He already knows how to navigate D.C. I thought this was for Chip's seat, and I was like, oh, crap, this guy won? But no, this is for the AG of Texas. So, and by the way, Middleton had been previously endorsed by Trump in 2022 for the state house. So he's currently a Texas state representative, not DC representative, but Texas state representative, right? And so yeah, he was previously endorsed him, but Trump stayed out of this race last night. He didn't endorse either one of these guys, but Middleton won. Yeah, I'm sure he got a lot of. I'm sure he had the oil lobby behind him. All right, next story. So far in all the primaries this year, the GOP primaries, Trump has been busy primarying all the rhinos, all the people who were very sketchy, who we cannot depend on. For example, the 12 rhinos in South Carolina that voted alongside the Democrats to not ban the DEI map, in which, by the way, GOP should probably file lawsuits about that. The RNC needs to sue South Carolina because that is a racist map. Okay, a racist map based on. By the way, they took black voters and just lumped them all in as Democrats when, at least a third of them are Republicans. Anyways, so far this year in GOP primaries, there have been 118 people that Trump endorsed, and 100% of them won their races. Yeah, look at that. So, good stuff. Look at that. 9. Why did they cross that out? Oh, they wrote 8, but it's 9? I don't know. Look at that. Last night, this is from last night alone, 4-0. Last week was 34-0. Where's the video? Anyways, I guess there's no video of this. That would have been great to see. Next story. The DHS has allowed JFK International Airport to begin accepting people flying in from the DRC. Yeah, meaning the Democratic Republic of Congo, which is the epicenter of this year's Ebola. They're coming in, guys.
Yeah, good morning to you, George. The Atlanta airport is one of only 3 entry points right now where U.S. citizens coming in from Ebola-impacted area can fly into. JFK, which you just mentioned, will start tomorrow. However, right now, the CDC is asking for volunteers, asking for help to screen these passengers, check their temperature, scan for the virus before they can walk through those doors and into the community. This morning, as international aid groups warn that the Ebola outbreak in Central Africa could become the deadliest on record, the CDC with the
deadliest on the record. It's so far declared the fastest spreading. So something's up with this. Something's up with this. Either it's mutated, they've helped it gain functions, if you know what I'm talking about, or it's being deliberately spread or something like that, because this is crazy.
Urgent request to
like almost 1,000 cases already. This is supposed to be something that's not airborne.
Members. An internal email obtained by ABC News shows acting CDC Director Dr. Jay Bhattacharya urging employees to volunteer to screen Americans returning from Ebola hot zones for possible signs of the virus. The U.S. is one of several countries tightening travel restrictions amid the rapidly growing outbreak. Americans traveling from the DRC, South Sudan, and Uganda can only enter the U.S. through these airports. Non-U.S. citizens who have recently...
Oh, Texas, Houston, Texas. You guys are also going to eat shit. Atlanta, Washington, Doolies, JFK in New York. Wow. I'm glad I'm on this side of the country. Holy crap. Sorry about the rest of you.
Visited those countries or temporarily banned. According to the Wall Street Journal, the Trump administration is looking into a new approach to handling Americans exposed to the Ebola virus. Those U.S. citizens would reportedly be sent to Kenya for observation by U.S. public health officers instead of being flown to the U.S. for monitoring.
So Double Brewski says the word Hanta in Hebrew means lie. Well, here's a twist to what you're saying. The word corona is means crown, right? Which is like the king, which means like the best virus. And that ended up being a nothing burger. So if they're if we're using these words in a conspiratorial manner, then we're going opposites, right? Corona, king virus, it was as a nothing burger, had a fatality rate of less than 0.1%. Hanta's a hoax, a lie, but we're playing opposites, right? So what does that mean then, right? Anyways, back to this.
The plan still needs approval from Kenya. This as health officials warn that the outbreak is currently outpacing efforts to contain it. Doctors suspect the virus has already killed more than 200 people, including a baby in a Congo hospital whose mother was infected.
By the way, I've been covering this since it started. You can find clips of this on this other channel right here, Frank Show Clips as well. Well, Frank Show Clips. Links in the description. You'll find a lot of the Ebola coverage here, and I'm covering it so that you guys will at least take precautions. I'm not saying shut down your businesses, lock down, and take jabs. I'm saying maybe don't go to your brothel for a while. Maybe don't go to your massage parlor for a little bit. Maybe don't unnecessarily touch people for a little bit, because if we can prevent it from spreading, then they've got nothing, right? Now, if it does spread, then guess what? Oh, let's put that jab into production and make everyone take it.
At least another 900 people may be fighting the infection. This American aid worker and his team in the region making preparations for potential patients.
Right now we're working 14, 16-hour days, 6-7 days a week. We're trying to rotate to get breaks.
And Michael, just a reminder here, the WHO says while the global risk or the Ebola risk in Central Africa is high, the global risk is actually low. But as we've seen, it hasn't stopped the U.S. and many other countries from tightening their travel restrictions, especially with the World Cup just around the corner.
Oh, yeah, we got that. Also, Uganda has just closed their border with the DRC. Yeah. Which is an indication that it is getting worse there. I have not been hearing much about it, any updates out of there. But again, if you're panicked, communist countries, I don't know if you know about this, but communist countries, they handle bad news differently than we do. For us, we try to tell each other to give each other the heads up. In China, I'll give you an example. In China, there was a massive rainstorm, okay? A subway tunnel was flooded and a bunch of people died. And you know what they did? They, instead of like bringing in all the medics to come in and help, save as many people as possible, or maybe retrieve them, they put up barricades that are blocked, so you can't film, you can't see what's going on. Yeah, because in communist countries, when bad things happen, people panic. When they panic, they don't work. They're not productive. Yeah, they'll run. I'll tell you this: when they did that 3-week lockdown in China, the moment they unlocked, everyone fled town. Half the people didn't go back to work anymore. They left. They went back to their villages. Yeah, they panicked like that. Yeah. Now you know what's wrong with their economy now. Panic, people, Godzilla, right? Anyways, so yeah, border between Uganda and DRC is closed now. I'm sure people will still sneak by. They'll just walk around the border check, right? It's not like they're guarding the entire border with troops. Anyway, so there's that. India had its first suspected Ebola case. They, however, tested negative. So this is probably, by the way, suspected means that they're sick and they probably came from the area. And to that I say, why are you still letting people back in from that area? You know what I mean? Like, we had doctors, there's been so far 2 American doctors we had extracted out of those areas, and they went to different countries for some reason. One to Germany, one to Italy. Why didn't you put them both on the same plane to the same place? I don't know. It just seems the way they're handling it, the WHO, the World Health Organization, who, by the way, shut down the whole world over a weird flu, an unusual flu. Is suddenly not shutting down the world over something that wipes out 80% of the people it gets in contact with. Yeah, it's a very deadly virus here. Next story. South Korea is summoning the Iranian ambassador because apparently, that tanker that Iran struck the other day, it belonged to South Korea. Yeah. I don't know what kind of damage they did to it, but yeah. So we're blocking all of Iran's ships from crossing. Iran's blocking all of our ally ships from crossing. Hard to say that even South Korea is an ally anymore, because those guys are very chummy with the Panda Party now. Next story. Iran stated today that there is a low possibility of a return to war. Okay, so and saying that the oil prices did crash 5% today, so that's good news for a lot of you who are concerned about inflation. Okay, however, Iran's restoring their internet. Good, we talked about that yesterday. However, Iran state TV said that Tehran had obtained a draft of an initial unofficial framework for a memorandum of understanding with the United States on ending the conflict. Okay, so you think, okay, that's good news. Yeah, let's get the oil price down. No, look what happened. The White House came forward and says, yeah, that's not real. Yeah, you can see it. Go look at the stock market. It went like this and it went like this. Like real quick today. Oh, man. What else is there? Next story. Zelensky asked Trump for air defense munitions. No, figure things out yourself. Okay, you're getting money from all over the world. Stop asking us for stuff. We got many wars we're dealing with. Okay, we're working in. We're in Ecuador right now. We just knocked over Venezuela. We still gotta deal with Nicaragua and Colombia. We're working out things in Nigeria right now. We're blowing up terrorist leaders in Nigeria. Okay, and then we're dealing with Iran. So how about you figure things out yourself, Beggy McBegstein over here? Good Lord. Next story. China's military said today it used naval and air forces to drive away a Dutch ship. It is a frigate. They're accusing the Dutch ship of illegally intruding into the Parcel Islands, which again, the South China Sea, they're still trying to declare that as their little ocean. Yeah. They you know what they did? They built these Spratly Islands all over the place, and they're like, okay, anything 200 miles out from that's ours. So they built enough of that to declare the whole thing. But the international treaty says this has to be naturally formed land. And you can't just build a piece of land that says everything 400 miles in either direction here is ours. That does not how it works, okay? So they're still trying to claim that body of water as theirs, even though it borders like 5 other countries. Stupid as shit. Next story. This is in Argentina. They are doing a world's longest sandwich contest, okay? 750 meters. Look what happens. The people are just going up and just stealing the sandwiches before it can even be measured. Yeah. Savages, guys. Savages. Holy crap. There's something about everything south of Texas, you know? Light skin, dark skin, they're all savages. Look at this. So much for the world record, huh? Next story. Oh, what is this? Oh, geez. There's a ferry in the San Francisco Bay that crashed into the pier. Yeah, crashed into the dock. There's some broken windows there. Boy, what a mess. There's glass everywhere. Look at that. That's bad. Oh, still breaking, huh? Still breaking? Easy. Easy. Yeah. Next story. This little doohickey right here is what hold on, let me mute the music, damn it. This little doohickey is used to move these cones from one lane to the other easily without people having to get out of the cars. Look at that. Look how efficient that is. Now, I saw this and I got a brilliant idea, right? Why not use this for this? Huh? How about that? Why don't we use that car pushy coning thingy on all these people on the ground there blocking ISIS pathway? Does that sound like a good idea? Put a 1 in the chat if you think that's a great idea.
Fair enough, fair enough.
Just bring it by and just, you know? I'm sure, yeah, there you go. Thank you, Bionic Fire Truck. Anyway, that's some of the protests from the other day. Next story. Oh, look at this one. So this cop pulled over a lady and is accusing her of using her cell phone while driving, okay? And he's so confident. I saw you with your hand. I saw you. Look what happens.
Being pulled over in the city of Lake Worth today, we're doing an operation for distracted driver, and you drove past me holding the phone with your right hand, manipulating that phone. I mean, I saw you with this one in your hand.
So you want to just call this a day? Or?
I don't want to call it a day. You had a hand manipulating.
You just said my right hand.
Well, I thought I saw you with your right hand. You had a hand out. The right hand. I saw you manipulate.
So you didn't.
With the right hand, perhaps not.
She's got a nub, guys. She's an amputee. The cop is still trying to force a ticket on her. Can you imagine how many other incidents there have been of this where you legitimately were not looking at your cell phone, but they're like, oh, we're going to give you a ticket. Yeah, because I saw you. I'm generating revenue for the state to give to illegals. Yeah. Look at that nub. Yeah. If it was any of us with 2 hands, we'd be in trouble. We'd have a ticket to pay for. Next story. Where is this at? This is in Pandaland? I thought this is in the U.S. Never mind. Here's a bridge in Pandaland getting swept away by the river. Oh, whoa, whoa. Whoa. No, that's a boat now, isn't it? Oh, poor guy. Yeah, they got serious floods out of there. Yeah. That's what you do when you got nationwide protests. You purchase very extreme weather and people shush the hell up because they're drowning. Next story. This is out in Waco, Texas. That's a kangaroo running from cops. I didn't even know we had kangaroos here. Run, run, kangaroo. They might accuse you of using a cell phone when you don't even have a thumb. Yeah. That's so cool.
You got it.
Don't let, oh, look at that. They're grabbing him by his tail. Yeah. Poor kangaroo. They're going to torch his whole compound with women and children in it. Waco massacre. Next story. Oh, look at this. Guaranteed DEI driver here. Look at this guy. He's a U-Haul truck. And he's got this branch stuck on it and just keeps driving, just destroying every car he passes by. There we go. Nice and scratchy on both sides. Every car. You didn't want to stop to, I don't know, get a saw and chop that off? It's just okay for you to do that, huh? Holy shit.
Holy shit, man.
Samesies. Oh, do we have a visual?
Fuck, lady?
What's the lady? Oh man.
You couldn't tell?
What are you filming?
You couldn't fucking tell? You just hit everybody's car down the street.
Oh, that's great. Keep driving. Go ahead, you're fine.
Hi. Holy shit. She just wiped my fucking whole front end off of my car.
Wow. Anywho. Yeah, those are moving boxes. Thank you very much to Ron. Thank you, Ron, for the donation. You're keeping this channel alive. Thank you, Ron. Thank you, buddy. Anywho, guys, I remember we're gonna watch the Trump the Trump cabinet meeting right now. But before that, remember I got other channels to follow as well. Frank Show Clips, please give that channel a follow. If you're gonna hype a video, hype it on that channel, please. If you hype videos on big channels, you get 3 hypes a week. And if you hype videos on a big channel, it only gets like 100 points. But if you hype it on a small channel, that channel will get like 2,000 points. So please help that channel out. Thank you very much. Cash App, buy me a copy, subscribe to on Patreon. All ways you can support the channel if you'd like. You can also become a member like Mary is. Thank you, Mary. You can also become a member like who else? Supdog is a member and Kathy's a member. Thank you, dear. $3 a month. It helps keep the channel alive. Or you could do it over on Rumble, like Campbell, like Jillian. Look at that. Amber, good to see you. Chad. Anyways, let's get going with this cabinet meeting here. Do I have a live read? I don't think I do. Yeah, we'll stay alive on YouTube. Here we go.
People around the table because we
Here we
have
go.
a lot of very happy people around the table because we're a great team. It's been a tremendous period of time for our country, and things are going very well. Number of jobs, we have more people working today than we've ever had before in the history of our country, and many other things. And I have a few words to say to you that I think will be helpful. And last night was incredible, not only Texas, but so many other places, and the numbers were fantastic. And they've really been that way for a year. If you look, it's hundreds of people won, and almost nobody didn't win. So, but last night was very, very powerful. So I'm thrilled to welcome everyone to the 12th cabinet meeting of our administration, and we're doing something that no administration's ever done. We're always letting the press join us because we're very open and transparent. You like the word transparent, but we're more transparent than any administration in history. No, to the best of my knowledge, press has never been invited ever to a cabinet meeting for any reason at all. And It's an honor to have you. This team has achieved more than most other administrations achieve in 8 years. We took the most dangerous, unsafe, violent, and open border in the world. Anywhere in the world, there's no border like the border we had. And created the most secure border in the history of our country. We had no people, 12 months now, no people reported in the last 12 months came in illegally. 0 illegal aliens admitted to the United States in the last 12 months. And those charts are made by, you would say, politically unfriendly people. And the reason they don't come in is because nobody comes up, because they know that they're going to be turned away, and if they get in, they're going to be moved out right away. So it's been 0. You're the one that do the reports. I'm actually surprised by the number because I don't know how it can be 0, but they say it's 0 for the last 12 months. In 2025, we achieved the largest drop in the murder rate ever recorded. So the murder rate was quite high, and we achieved the largest drop in the murder rate ever recorded to the lowest level in 125 years. That's the year 1900. And that's despite the fact that many people came in from prisons and from very rough countries and from mental institutions and from lots of other places, drug dealers and others. They came in illegally during the Biden administration. We've gotten many of them out, but we still have some that we're looking for, quite a few that we're still looking for, but we've gotten over 11,888 murderers were allowed into our country. We've gotten a lot of them out. We've gotten some, we put them in jail. We don't even trust the country to send them because they'll come back in maybe. We put them in jail. 11,888 murders, more than half of which have committed more than one murder. That's what they allowed, and they can never be forgotten for the horrible things they've done to this country. Fentanyl coming across our border is now down by 61%. 61%. And coming in by water, by sea, by ocean is down 97%. Can you imagine? Thanks to our Republican majorities in Congress, we passed the largest tax cuts in American history. All Democrats voted against the tax cuts, putting more money in Americans' pockets. This year, the typical family got tax refunds of almost close to $5,000. The stock market has set 68 all-time record highs since the election. So 68 days, we hit all-time highs. We're right there now. And the average 401k, and that's despite the conflict. I don't call it a war, I call it a conflict. Despite the conflict with Venezuela, who no longer has a Navy, no longer has an Air Force, no longer has a lot of people that were leading the country into very bad places. Their leadership is gone. Their second rung leadership is gone, and we're dealing with half of their third, because half of their third is gone too. The average 401k is up almost $30,000 since I took office. So the Americans are benefiting working today. We have the most working, and we have 401ks at their all-time high. Highest they've ever been. And that goes along with the stock market, which is the highest it's ever been. Under my most favored nation agreements, this is something that I wish the media would talk about, because to me it's one of the biggest things ever to happen in our country. Certainly as to medical, anything having to do with medical. Because drug prices, we're delivering record-setting discounts on prescription drugs with price differences of 400, 500, and even 600% at the TrumpRx.gov. We recently added nearly 1,000 low-cost generics to the website. So we have drugs down 400, 500, 600%. Now you could say 80, 90, 70, 60, 50%. If you want. There are two ways. It depends on the way you ask the question. But a pill that would sell in Germany or in, let's say, in London for $10 was selling for here for $130. And I got the countries to all agree. Otherwise, they would have had to pay big tariffs. I don't want to go into it, but I had some very interesting discussions. They said vehemently no. And then when I said, that's all right, we're going to charge you a 50% tariff on everything you sell into America, they said, well, like we said, we'll say yes. And every single country agreed, and every drug company agreed. So we have most favored nations. So we were paying the highest drug prices in the world. Now we're paying the lowest drug prices in the world. So that pill that I talked about would go from $10 to $20. The world is bigger than the U.S. Hard to believe, but it's true. So it's not like you cut it in the middle. You just had to go up a little bit, but a little bit is a doubling of a price, so a little bit's a lot. So the pill would go from $10 to $20, and we'd go from $130 to $20. Think of that. So we would get, if you remember, some of you were at the news conference I had in my first term where I got the prices down 1/8%, 1/4% my first term. And I'm so proud of it because drug prices hadn't come down in 28 years, and I was the first one to do it. But now I'm getting them down, not 1/8%, I'm getting them down 400, 500, 600. Or if you want to use it a different way, you could say 70%, 80%, 90%, 50%. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And I got that through, well, everybody knew it was taking place, but we paid the highest prices anywhere in the world. Now we're paying the lowest prices anywhere in the world, and the press refuses to write about it. I think it's the biggest thing. And for healthcare, so much of it is prescription drug prices and drug prices. And with them coming down, the healthcare is going to come down very substantially. We recently added nearly 1,000 low-cost generics too, as I said, and that's 1,000 drugs, and it's all on. And this was not given by me. This was given by Dr. Oz and Bobby, and I, wasn't sure whether or not I loved the idea, but they said we want to use Trump. TrumpRx.gov is what it is, and it's the hottest site I think anywhere on the planet, from what I understand, Bobby. Right? It's really great. People are calling up and they're buying drugs for literally a fraction of the price, and it should be the biggest story. And on that alone, we should win the midterms. On that alone, we should win the midterms. But the press doesn't talk about it. It's the biggest thing to happen in the drug industry ever, maybe. Ever. And the press doesn't even want to write stories about it. We made the largest ever investment in U.S. military, $1 trillion, and we're asking actually for $1.5 trillion for the coming year. And we have the strongest military anywhere in the world, as you know. You saw what we did with Venezuela. That worked out very quickly. And we're doing really equally as well with, but again, people don't want to write about it, with Iran. Iran is very much intent. They want very much to make a deal. So far, they haven't gotten there. We're not satisfied with it, but we will be. We will be either that or we'll have to just finish the job. But their Navy is gone, as I've said 1,000 times. Their Navy is gone. Their Air Force is gone. Everything's gone, and they're negotiating on fumes. But we'll see what happens. Maybe we have to go back and finish it. Maybe we don't. Right now, I mean, you can speak to Steve Witkoff and Jared. They're doing a good job. But right now, I think it looks like they want to just make a deal. They want to. They have. I don't think they have a choice. They're just going back to the internet because they're getting clobbered. Their economy is in free fall. They have 250% inflation. Their money has no value. Their whole economic system is broken down. They thought they were going to outweight me. We'll outweight him. He's got the midterms. I don't care about the midterms. Look what happened last night. That was the prelude to the midterms. People understand it. They know that. Very simple. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I'm doing that for the world. I'm not doing it just for us. And we've had great support from other nations, by the way. We don't need it at all, but we've had great support from other nations. The problem is you always get the support when you don't need it. When you need it, you don't get the support. With Operation Epic Fury, our warriors are ensuring that the world's #1 state sponsor of terror never obtains a nuclear weapon, and they won't. Under the leadership of Vice President J.D. Vance, very proud of this, the White House Task Force to eliminate fraud is waging war on waste, fraud, theft, and abuse like nobody's ever seen before. He looks like Elliot Ness. Do you ever see Elliot Ness? I'm telling you, the guys that are up there, Rural Central Casting, they're standing behind. What a group of people. No, it looks like a movie. I'm going to make a movie out of it, I think. And they're finding billions and billions and billions of dollars. And I just said, that's good. He said, you haven't seen anything yet. Just said that. And, he does really great. We'll have a balanced budget without having to do anything. This is the kind of money they stole. They're crooks. They're thieves. And I hope that Todd is going to do a real job. These are crooked people. These are thieves. This isn't like a mistake. just talking about one person, he got hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars for securing one man, for taking care of one elderly man. He was a service. He got paid millions of dollars for taking care of one man. Total crook. They're all crooks. The Somalians, what they've done to Minnesota, the Somalians, they're crooked as hell. Ilhan Omar, crooked as hell. They're all crooks. And we got them. We got them. Now we're putting the clamps on, but boy, I tell you, that's an impressive group of guys that you have behind you. I was watching that, and a couple of very strong women too. But I was watching that last night. I said, I'm proud of you guys. In 2 months, we've exposed tens of billions of dollars of defrauded taxpayer money, prosecuted numerous fraudsters, Todd, and stopped billions of suspicious payments, very suspicious. Oh, you haven't seen anything yet? Well, you see, I'm getting reports from Todd, from JD. I've never seen anything like it. The kind of, just hundreds of billions of dollars was stolen. And no other administration would do what we're doing. They'd let it go. Everybody was getting rich. And I think we have a chance to save Social Security without doing anything to it by just the numbers of fraudulent people on Social Security, people that are 115 years old, 125 years old, getting payments. It's funny, I said, oh, do those payments get turned back? No, they accept them. Well, somebody's getting the payment. It's not a person that's 125 years old. But that's the least of it. The numbers that we're finding out, we have great people at Social Security. We're going to make our Social Security so strong, so good that you've never seen anything like it. We're going to protect. I said right from the beginning, we're going to protect our people on Social Security. If the Democrats ever got in, you wouldn't have said Social Security would be bankrupt. People wouldn't be getting anything. Last week, they took down 2 of the largest Medicaid fraud cases in Minnesota history, as well as the largest autism fraud case ever charged by the federal government. You saw that with millions of dollars just being stolen. Everybody had autism. Everybody had autism, they said. It was incredible, actually. And I've just seen I see what they're doing. You haven't seen anything yet. So congratulations, JD. Be vicious like they are. They're violent people. They're violent, vicious scum. Before asking Vice President Vance to speak about these efforts, I want to express our tremendous gratitude to our outgoing Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, who's a terrific person, actually. She's come up with some findings that were pretty good. And Tulsi's worked tirelessly to restore trust and focus on the intelligence and with the intelligence community. They all respected her. They listened to her. She gave us leads that were pretty much, people thought they were dead and they weren't dead. They were right there. And she was able to expose a lot of things that we used at the FBI with Cash and with Todd and with JD and everybody else. It was amazing. She dramatically reformed the Office of Director of National Intelligence, and cutting the staff by 40%, and she prevented countless terrorists and cartel members from entering the United States. She exposed mountains of evidence related to the Russia hoax, probably the greatest hoax in the history of our country. Although, when you look at the fraud coming out, there's a lot of them. I mean, honestly, there's a lot of them. But the Russia hoax, a great hoax, a very dangerous hoax, too. And revoked security clearances of officials involved, and she declassified numerous historic documents of special public interest, including related to the JFK and RFK assassinations, which everybody wanted to see. And we're now releasing a lot of things having to do with space. It's people are very interested in that. It actually became the #1 topic. We're releasing a lot of information having to do with extraterrestrial things, and people are totally fascinated by it. It's amazing. I wasn't sure if they would enjoy it. It's literally trending #1. Can you believe it? So a lot of people out there are like it, but we're releasing all of that information. And Tulsi, we're praying for you and for your husband. Her husband's not feeling great, but he's going to feel great soon. You're going to get him better. And he's a wonderful guy, so just say hello and thank you for the great work you've done. We appreciate it. Thank you very much. And now I'd like to ask JD to say a few words about the war on fraud, followed by Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche, who's doing fantastically, and Secretary of State Marco Rubio, another one. I mean, we have great people. And the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, Central Casting. He loves war. I don't like it. He's a good man, that one. And Scott Bessent, you talk about a guy doing a job. Been fantastic. Thank you, Scott. Really fantastic. And a lot of the success that we're having with other countries is what you've been able to do and find. And SBA Administrator Kelly Loeffler and all of the people here have been great. We're going to just do those few, and maybe if you have some questions, we'll go to others. But everybody around here has got a lot to say, but we did that once and it lasted for like 4 or 5 hours. It was a little much. We want to be open. So now if I do this way, they'll say, he didn't let anybody talk. But let's start with JD, and you can talk about a really, really important thing, bringing our country back to honesty. A tremendous amount of money is involved. Go ahead. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Well, first of all, thank you for your leadership, sir, and for making it possible. I often find in the fraud task force that there sometimes are barriers that we need to break down, agencies that need to coordinate, and I'll come to the president and say, Mr. President, I need your permission to do, he'll say, for what? For the fraud task force, and he'll cut me off and say, yes, go do it. So the fact that we have dedicated presidential leadership is really what's made this possible, because it does require, we've got great people around the table, but sometimes these agencies don't know how to work together at the lower level, and that's one of the things we've had to turn on and force with the fraud task force. So I want to shout out just a few all-stars here. Linda at the Department of Education has been amazing at finding student loan fraud. You've got people who are either illegal aliens or aren't even actually real human beings who are getting hundreds of millions of dollars from the Department of Education for student loans. We have cut that off. We found a lot. We're going to find a lot more. Scott at HUD has been amazing, because a lot of the fraud that we see is housing fraud, people claiming benefits that they're not entitled to, or again, sir, sometimes completely made up people who exist purely to collect fraudulent money from the American taxpayer. Brooke at the Department of Agriculture, something I had no idea until I started this work, sir, that we send hundreds of billions of dollars to the states to administer the food stamp program. The federal government has no insight into whether those food stamps are going to people who are legally entitled or whether those people actually even exist. And so we're working on a number of mechanisms to actually force the states to verify that the people who receive these benefits are actually entitled to them. And I could go down the list. I've gotten a lot of support from a lot of people in this room. Bobby Kennedy and Dr. Oz have been particular all-stars on this, and Kim at H&HS. What they've done with the Medicaid fraud, we've found tens of billions of dollars in Medicaid and Medicare fraud just from their hard work. We've cut that off, and yes, Mr. President, we're going to find a lot more. The final thing I want to say, Mr. President, and I know that Todd maybe has something to say about this as well, but I always try to remind the American people, and certainly remind the cabinet officials. By the way, Kelly at SBA has found tens of billions of dollars that were from fraudulent loans that were giving under the Biden administration, and we've now cut that off and recovered a lot of that money. So this has been a whole of government effort, Mr. President. The team really deserves a great deal of credit here. But the final point I want to make, sir, is I always try to remind the American people that fraud is fundamentally a crime with two victims. The most obvious victim are the American taxpayer. They pay their taxes, they expect the money to go where it should go, and that's not happening because of the fraudsters. But there are also victims, people who benefit from these programs that don't exist if we're not actually taking care of the fraud issue. And let me just give one example to build on something you said earlier, sir. One of the people that Todd just prosecuted was a person who was collecting a lot of money from the American taxpayer to take care of elderly citizens, people who worked their entire lives, paid their taxes, should have had dignity and nobility in old age, but it was deprived from them from fraudsters who say that they're taking care of them, who collect a check to take care of them, but then abuse and neglect these people. And particularly one man who died because he wasn't getting adequate care, and that guy was still collecting benefits to take care of a person who he had completely neglected. So not only do you have an American taxpayer who's paying into these programs, you have an elderly citizen deprived of his dignity because we're not going after the fraudsters. Well, now we are.
How much money did he get?
Sir, hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe more than that, but we think that that exact type of fraud has been replayed all over our country. That particular case was outside of Minneapolis. We expect that there are tens of thousands of people who are collecting fraudulent money to take care of people, and they're not actually taking care of them. We're, of course, going to get to the root of as much of it as we can. But again, sir, it's been, I wouldn't say fun, because you find out how much people have been taken advantage of, but it's certainly very good and valuable work. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to do it.
Well, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Attorney General, please.
I'll just continue to talk about what the Vice President was just talking about. The way that we are actually, it's one thing to uncover fraud, which we've done, and that's part of it, but it's also prosecuting the bad guys that are doing it and stopping it from continuing. And that's where you have, everybody in this room has inspector generals. And for many years, these really hardworking law enforcement members would identify fraud, and nobody did anything about it. DOJ prosecuted it, but spent a very little resources on that. So what we've done just in the past 51 days, over 400 law enforcement actions in this country related to major fraud. That's search warrants, that's arrests, that's convictions, that's indictments that are filed, and that's just 51 days. And it's not just the great prosecutors. It's the FBI agents, it's DHS and HSI agents. It's everybody in this room that has inspector generals that are now they have been freed up, and it's because of you. It's because of the Vice President saying this is going to be a priority of what we are going to do. Not just the Department of Justice, even though we're the prosecutors that are putting bad guys in jail. It's also the law enforcement at every agency, FBI and DHS. And so we're already seeing results. We had a $1 billion fraud, a conviction at trial last week out of Florida. And this was an organization that was stealing from senior citizens in Florida, duping them. There were call centers set up in the Philippines, and they were duping them to buy medical equipment that they didn't need, that they would never get, and that the taxpayers paid for. And so that's a good win. We arrested 15 guys in Minnesota last week. The Vice President mentioned one of them. These are people that are not, they're just stealing, and many of them are here illegally. And so you have people who are in this country illegally who are then taking advantage, and the Vice President says something a lot that resonates with me. The generosity of the American people, the generosity of everybody in this room, the leadership, to take care of the people in this country that are the most, that deserve it the most. Children who are supposed to get food at school, and you have men just stealing, taking that money. And so that's what we're focused on. We are standing up, as you know, Mr. President, you allowed us to stand up a new division at the Department of Justice. It's our entire existence of that division is to combat what we're talking about. And then every U.S. Attorney's Office is now focused on it as well. So this is something that will result in a better place for every citizen in this country and save money, a lot of money, and also it's the right thing to do for our tax dollars, Mr. President.
And billions of dollars was given out just very quickly before Biden left office. Billions and billions were given out. And I mean, I know of many cases, but one, I don't know what's happened with it, but I think you're looking at it. I know Lee was involved in it environmentally. And Stacey Abrams was given $2 billion for an account that had $103 in it, an environmental fraud, I guess. And she had $103 in this newly opened account. And before leaving business, they put $2 billion into the account, and they had no reason for existence. They were unable to say what they did with it. $2 billion. Lee, do you want to just mention something about that?
Well, thanks to your leadership, Mr. President, that was canceled, and they no longer have access to that $2 billion.
They were like hell. They wanted that money. Go ahead.
In fact, it was over $29 billion it's now been canceled at EPA. You told us to make it a priority. Now this happened as soon as you came in. After the election, before your inauguration, they were caught on video saying that they were rushing to get billions of dollars out the door before you're swearing in because they were afraid that once you were sworn in, you were going to stop it. Well, that part, they were right.
We did. Yeah, we did. Great job.
And we're happy to do it, Mr. President. And the Department of Justice under Todd Blanche's leadership, they just secured another big win in the appeals court on some recently canceled grants for different agencies. So great attorneys making sure that this accountability is delivered over the finish line. It's been a great team effort.
And we're building more, most importantly, we're building more factories and plants in the United States now than at any time ever before. $18 trillion coming in. That's not including the 12th month, that's 11. And I say it often that the Biden administration had much less than 1 trillion, and we have 18 trillion. And when those final numbers come up, they'll be even higher than that. That's a record in the history of the world. No country has ever done that. And that money's going into plants, and you are giving them very fast approvals, thorough and environmentally correct, but fast approvals, and you're doing a fantastic job. Thank you very much. Another man doing a fantastic job, I think we all agree, is Marco. You're all over the place, right? I watched you last night in 3 different locations. So tell us about Iran.
Well, first of all, the bottom line is Iran's never going to have a nuclear weapon. And if recent events have done anything, is just remind us once again that they are the world's leading sponsor of terrorism. And they can never have a nuclear weapon. Now, the president's preference, Mr. President, your preference has told us repeatedly, is always to negotiate these things and to figure out if you can have agreements. Diplomacy is always the first option. And we continue to work on that through your envoys, Mr. Woodcoff and Kushner and others, the vice president, who've been very involved. And if there's an agreement to be made, we want that to be made. I think there's been some progress and some interest, and we'll see over the next few hours and days whether progress could be made. I just want to remind everybody, Mr. President, you know this well, you have other options available to you if that doesn't work. But the bottom line is that we prefer the negotiated diplomatic route, and we're going to give it every chance to succeed. I know you're giving it every chance to succeed, Mr. President. But here's the bottom line, because I keep getting asked, what is this all about? It's very simple. Iran and these people in charge of Iran can never have a nuclear weapon, and they will never have a nuclear weapon, and they most certainly will not have one as long as you're President of the United States. On that point, it's very clear. Just 2 quick things I want to touch upon. One, you touched upon the border and security. Part of securing our border is dealing with the people that are in this country unlawfully, many of whom do not want to go back to the country that they originally came from for a variety of reasons. Either we can't send them there or some judge ties us up. And one of the key things we have achieved is now 20 countries have signed third country national agreements, meaning these are safe countries where individuals who refuse to go back to their country of origin can be sent to that country instead. We've gotten 20 countries now around the world who have signed agreements that allow us to deport people to those places. What often happens when you go to the person who's here unlawfully and say, we're going to send you to this third country, is all of a sudden they decide they'd rather go back to their home country instead. So it gives the ability to enforce all laws, and we work very closely with the Department of Homeland Security on that front. Something else that I know is concerning people, because it's on the news, is Ebola. Our number one obligation, we're involved in foreign policy, but even our foreign policy, the number one priority of our foreign policy is to protect the American people. We cannot and will not allow any cases of Ebola to enter the United States. And so the State Department and other agencies represented here, the Centers for Disease Control, HHS, others, are working very, very hard to contain this crisis to the countries where it's currently located, particularly the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And so we've surged assistance to make sure that is being contained there. And obviously, multiple agencies involved here are also very involved in tracking people, just to make sure that nobody comes into this country that has Ebola and creates a problem for us. And we feel like we've got good efforts in place to do that, and Americans should feel assured that the President and his administration is doing everything we can to protect them on that front. My last point, you said I was all over the place. One of the places I stopped in last night was to initial the Trump Route for Prosperity in Armenia. This is a key linchpin of the peace deal that you were able to achieve between Armenia and Azerbaijan. Right. And in addition to that, we also signed a critical minerals MOU with them and a strategic engagement one as well. So just a reminder of another war you helped to settle, Mr. President. But from that now we are seeing the emergence of a great new relationship with Armenia that really had grown stagnant for a very long period of time. So we're doing well on that front as well. Thank you.
And could I just ask you, Cuba and Venezuela, what's going on there?
Well, interesting. On Venezuela, that process continues, that 3-phase process, of obviously stabilization, recovery, and transition. I would just say, just since January 3rd of this year, and I think this number's right, and Chris or Doug can correct me on this, but I think over 10 million barrels of Venezuelan oil have been delivered to the United States since the 3rd of January. That industry is being professionalized for the first time ever. It's going to the benefit of the Venezuelan people. They are selling oil in the market at market rates. The money's going to an account in the United States, controlled and monitored by Treasury, audited by KPMG, and it's for the first time ever the money's not being stolen. It's going to the benefit of the Venezuelan people. Cuba's in a lot of trouble because, unfortunately for them, it's run by a bunch of incompetent communists. And being communist is bad. Being an incompetent communist is like the worst. And but the country's been taken over by this company called Gaesa that basically controls 70% of the economy. None of the money in that company goes to help the Cuban people, none of it. So we'll be talking to them, we'll be working on it. You know, we want something good for the Cuban people, and hopefully there'll be a good outcome there for them. There needs to be. It's 90 miles from our shores, and having a failed state 90 miles from our shores is a threat to the national security of the United States.
So we're producing right now more oil by double than Russia and Saudi Arabia combined. There's never been anything like that. We don't need oil, we don't need the Straits, we don't need anything, but we have more oil now being produced by 2 times than Russia and Saudi Arabia combined. It's a great stat. You want to say something about that?
Well, I would, President Trump, under your leadership, we've opened up lease sales on public land. This is land that was put away for the benefit and the use of the American people, like the Strategic Petroleum Reserve in Alaska. The Biden administration had illegally stopped holding lease sales during their administration. President Trump famously said, drill, baby, drill, but before you can drill, you've got to open public lands. Between the lease sales that have happened in the Permian, in the Bakken, and on the North Slope, just since January of this year, it's over $4 billion of revenues come into the Treasury. That's 13 times more than the Biden administration brought in on lease sales in the entire 4 years they're in office. Sir, your policies brought that in 5 months. So with that, a lot of excitement, a lot of activity. We also inherited just in one district in Carlsbad, New Mexico, 5,600 unprocessed applications to drill for oil and gas on public land. And when we're drilling on public land, those companies pay a royalty, and that money comes to all of our citizens, and it goes to local school districts, and it goes to states. It is the core of the economy in parts of our country. The team down there working for the Department of Interior, Bureau of Land Management, has dropped that by 91%. It's one of the reasons why they had a record lease sale. It's because now people go, I can bid on federal land and I'm going to get a permit to drill, and it's not going to take me 5 years to get it. I'm going to get it in a month or less. And so it's exciting to see your vision. And of course, with this energy dominance, us, as you just noted, largest oil producer in the world, largest natural gas producer in the world, largest natural gas exporter. This is an opportunity for us to bring prosperity and affordability here at home, but also bring peace abroad. So President Trump, your energy dominance strategy with Chris Wright, Lee Zeldin, all the people that are working on this, people around the room, it's been really incredible. And of course, you mentioned Venezuela, but all that flowing to our Gulf Coast refineries is also helping to keep the price of gas down at home. So again, it's an amazing transformation. Bottom line is the center of geopolitics around energy has moved from other parts of the world to the Western Hemisphere in the last 5 months. You turned Venezuela from a sanctioned adversary into a strategic ally in 45 minutes. Never happened in history before. And what's going on in Alaska? When I was there last week in Alaska, the North Slope, 80,000 barrels a day coming online at Pico. That wouldn't have happened with you. It's up by Willow on the North Slope. That's going into the Alaska pipeline. 20% increase just off that one field. So amazing work. Energy's a high-tech industry, and those guys are crushing it, and they're loving the fact that they can provide affordable, reliable, secure energy for America.
And we're working very hard in California. You know, a lot of people don't know this, but California has tremendous oil reserves. Used to be number 3 in the nation, and the radical left has just wiped it out, and we're working very hard to get that open again and get it so the people, their gasoline prices, their lack of energy is just staggering. It's staggering. And we're actually making very good progress. Even people that were against that at one point, now they're saying, wow, that'd be great. But people don't realize it was one of the, right, Chris? It was one of the top drilling states, one of the, I would say in terms of reserves, as among the top in the country. Nobody thinks of that with California. Everything was just closed down, really violently closed down. And we're opening up some of it, and we're being met with actually great spirit because they're paying so much for gasoline that they don't have to be doing that. And they have a very incompetent group of leaders, like grossly incompetent, So I think that's going to be something. On a slightly smaller subject, while Doug was speaking, Department of Interior, he and his people have done a fantastic job on D.C. D.C. is looking beautiful. The fountains are almost all open. We had 28 of them. And we have one in particular, a very long lake, we call it, the reflecting lake, between the Lincoln Monument. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. You take a look at between Lincoln and Washington, you have the longest, like 2,400 feet long. That's longer than the tallest building in the world if you set it on its side. And it's almost 200 feet wide. And actually it was built in 1922, and from 1922 on, it really never worked. It always leaked, and it was a problem, and a lot of things. And hundreds of millions was spent. The Biden administration and the Obama administration spent hundreds of millions of dollars trying to get it to work, and they failed. And we'll be spending, you'll give me a number, but I think it's a very low number. It's like in the number that we originally talked about, where we cleaned it, we fumigated it. We had 10 major truck dumpsters of garbage taken out. Can you believe it? A friend of mine came in, very substantial person from Germany, wanted to see the Washington Monument. I wanted to see the Lincoln Memorial. And he said, I looked, but that horrible reflecting pond is disgusting. It's filthy, dirty, and disgusting. I said, really? I drove down. I said, Secret Service, let's take a drive. And we went down. I said, that's terrible. And for the most part, it didn't work. I mean, they wouldn't even have water in there. But when they did, it was just dirty, filthy water that leaked out. And we got to work on it. And it was supposed to cost almost $400 million, because it's like putting the skin on a skyscraper, but bigger, much bigger. Many skyscrapers, you could almost say, other than for the world's tallest. Think of it, the world's tallest skyscraper is shorter than 2,400 feet. So we went to work, and over the years I built hundreds of pools. I build them every time I built a building. I always like to build Olympic-sized swimming pools, and I was very aware of swimming pool, what goes into making a swimming pool. It's not as simple as people think. You never want it to leak. You want to have beautiful surface. I said, I have an idea, Doug. We sat down. I said, let's take that long thing where we're going to fix it with concrete, which leaks, concrete, and all sorts of other materials that all leak and don't look good. They're gray. And, swimming pool, I have a swimming pool right up the road. I built it 22 years ago. It's perfect. I said, does it ever leak? No. It's perfect. Good contractors. I actually called in a couple of the contractors, got some ideas from them. And I gave it to Doug, and Doug's done an unbelievable job. And so they were going to spend maybe $400 million. I don't know. You never know with cost overruns and everything, but it was going to take years to build, 3 years, 4 years. And we'll have it done before July 4th, substantially before July 4th. If we didn't have such bad weather the last 4 or 5 days, we could have been almost done. You can't do the substance of the rain. And what they did is they cleaned it. They took out, as I said, more than 10 dumpsters of garbage, shovels. It was disgusting. Every corner had massive amounts of, I guess that's the way the tide goes, but they had massive amounts of garbage. We then steam cleaned it. We then sandblasted it, and then we pebble blasted it. That's a bigger version of sand. We made the surface as good as it can be. And we're now covering it with the most beautiful blue, very thick. You think of it as a very sophisticated form of rubber. No leaks, no problems. And it's beautiful. It's called American Flag Blue. That was the color we chose. And we are probably 70% finished with it. It's going to be finished. The hard part's done. And then we decided to do much more than I thought I was just going to do the surface, but we said the problem is the outer ring looks pretty bad too, where you walk on. So we sandblasted that. This is all additional work. We didn't want to do, when you do something like this, when you do the one, you think the other looked okay, but then when the other, you see the new surface, the old stuff that looked okay looks really bad. So we cleaned that, sandblasted it. The walkways, all of it. It's a tremendous amount of area. It's thousands of feet long, very wide. This is where the people stand, not the water part, the dry part. And we had a combination of granite and stone. and we're pointing it, fixing it. The joints were terrible, everything. The whole place was a mess. And when it opens in a couple of weeks, long before July 4th, we want to have it for July 4th weekend, but it'll be long before that, you will see something that's really going to be beautiful. And now we're looking at the World War II fountain, because that's also in pretty bad shape. On the bottom, we're going to duplicate it, I think, with the maybe with a slightly different color. Actually, we'll go with a lighter color. But Doug and I have a lot of fun doing it. Your staff is fantastic. They've really worked well. But the concept, so think of it, instead of spending $200, $300, $400 million, and it will never work, we're going to spend like $10 million maybe, $12 million. Instead of spending 4 years, we're going to spend, like if you add it all up, like a couple of months. And instead of going through 4th of Julys as a horrible construction site, we're going to have it open before the 4th of July. And the difference is it's better. Somebody said, oh, well, but it's not the same. You know, some of the fake news would say, well, but it's not. No, it's like the pen story. The pen is better at $2 than it was at $2,000. This is the same thing. This is far better. Won't leak. It'll last for 50 years, maybe 100 years. They didn't even know. I said, how long will this last? Oh, I think you'll get 50 years out of it. We did the swimming pool treatment, but they said, sir, for a little more money, we can get industrial strength. I said, that sounds good to me. Same color, same everything, same stuff, but it's actually much stronger. It's used for industrial. I said, I love that. So we're going to have that open. It's going to be really, really beautiful. And it's a very important thing. You know, we can't have people looking at the Washington Monument, going, the memorial. If you take a look, the Lincoln Memorial, it was built, I guess, a little after the Lincoln Memorial. It's embarrassing. It was so horrible. I never saw anything like it. It was filthy dirty. It was Biden. And they spent, between the two of them, they spent hundreds of millions of dollars trying to fix this thing. Now, when Obama did it, he spent way over $100 million. And they had a great idea. Let's use the water from the Potomac. Because environmentally, they liked it. Somebody said that was good. But the water from the Potomac was not suitable for this, to put it mildly. It was disgusting what happened. And so they spent hundreds of millions, over $100 million, and they immediately closed it. It was closed for many months and nobody did anything. It was closed. It's basically been closed. But go back to 1922. It was always sort of, people think of it as beautiful, but it was always a mess. It's going to be unbelievable. It will be unbelievable. It's actually exciting. I want to ride over there today if I can. You know, I always have a problem. Secret Service isn't in love with my walking along, checking the sidewalk, the new sidewalk, to see whether or not they pointed it correctly. But they do. We have great contractors doing the job. But we'll spend a very tiny amount of money, and it'll be better than it ever was when it was built in 1922. It's very exciting, actually. To me, I love construction. It's very exciting. And we do many things. We did 28 or 29 fountains. I made a contribution to redoing Lafayette Park. That's the entrance to the White House, and it was an embarrassment. The floors were broken. They had bricks. Some of the bricks were missing. You know where they're missing? They took them out to throw at people. We're going with them. It's going to be a world-class park. It'll be open pretty soon. They're doing a lot of work over there. That was a contribution that I made with some other people. And it's going to be really beautiful. That was really the front door to the White House, but you couldn't even use it. It was so terrible. People would come to the White House, and it was so terrible. So with that, I'm going to ask Pete to talk about some of our great success.
Yes, sir.
Including Venezuela, you might talk.
Absolutely, sir. I think actually your efforts on the reflecting pool are actually a great segue. If you look at Washington and Lincoln, these are two men that faced monumental tasks and stood up in historic fashion and delivered for the American people. And when you step back and look at 47 years of what Iran waged war against us and our people, there's only one man over the course of both presidency who has stood up and said they will never get a nuclear weapon, as Marco said. So whether it was Qasem Soleimani, whether it was scrapping the Obama deal that was going to give them a weapon, whether it was the 12-day war or Operation Midnight Hammer, you created the conditions to ensure the American people and the world are safeguarded from this generational threat. And so when you authorized Operation Epic Fury, just like you talked about with the reflecting pool, we didn't do the same old thing the way we'd done it in the past after Iraq and Afghanistan, the way we waged wars. Instead, you said we're going to do this smart, we're going to do it overwhelming, we're going to use maximum lethality, and we're going to bring them to their knees. And so whether it's their Navy that's at the bottom of the Persian Gulf, their Air Force, their air defenses, or their defense industrial base, they may have missiles, but they can't build more right now, and they can't build more drones right now, and they can't build more ships. And so they came and cried uncle to talk, which Steve and Jared and the Vice President and others are doing so ably. And during that time, we put in a world-class blockade. And they haven't been able to bring anything in or anything out from Iranian ports. And we know from the intel that their economy is hurting big time because that is their lifeblood. And again, bringing them to the table. So whether it is through the efforts of your negotiators that they ensure that they never have a nuclear weapon, or we have to go back to the War Department to finish the job that way. We're prepared to do that. And I think even our reach on the dark fleet of Iranian tankers, no Iranian tanker around the globe is safe. And we've seen seizures all around the globe, again, choking off their economic lifeblood. But all of this is possible, Mr. President, thanks to the investments that you've made in this department, firing on all cylinders. For the second year in a row, we're at historic recruitment rates. Last year we said that here. This year we beat it even faster. The American people are excited about what you're bringing to our department. Our defense industrial base, $50 billion in private investments. Because of the meetings you've held, defense manufacturers are investing in new plants and new manufacturing, new production lines, so that we're getting weapons faster than ever. And then the $1.5 trillion that you've committed to the department going forward, that's 1 million American jobs. 1 million American manufacturing jobs. That's Golden Dome for America, that's F-47, that's B-21, that's $50 billion in drones. We're going to lead the world in drones, shaving years off of production of all of those, everything under budget and ahead of schedule, which is what the warfighter deserves. And we saw it, you mentioned Venezuela, Mr. President, you saw it on display there. Think of the fact that our Southcom commander just landed via helicopter at our embassy peacefully at the welcome of the Venezuelans, because we're now partnering with them, hopefully, even on the counter-cartel mission as we secure our hemisphere. So we've secured that southwest border. We're going to war with the cartels through the America's Counter-Cartel Coalition. Venezuela is a big part of securing our energy future and defending the homeland. And then I just want to note one more thing to give you a sense of how committed this president is. Maybe a year ago, he heard the call of Nigerian Christians who were being targeted and killed by ISIS in Nigeria. And he said, Pete, I want the War Department to focus on ensuring that we do everything we can to protect those Christians. Partnerships like that can take time behind the scenes, but he never wavered on it. And we got the assets there, and over the last month, and there hasn't been much coverage of this, we killed ISIS #2 in Nigeria, who's most responsible for killing Christians and trying to target the U.S. homeland, and have since, because of the intel we gathered, killed hundreds of ISIS members who were targeting and killing Christians in Nigeria, creating a whole new opportunity there. So there's a lot of things we do that the media pays attention to, and a lot of things the president empowers the department to do on behalf of the American people that he deserves great credit for.
Thank you. Great job. Great job. I just want to say on recruitment, we're very proud of the fact that for the previous 4 years, previous administration, they couldn't recruit people. And that included, by the way, police and firemen and others. They were not proud of our country. And they couldn't recruit. Anybody with a uniform and was having a hard time recruiting. And they set record low numbers. They were way, way behind. And literally from November 5th it started. It started even before we got going. Mm-hmm. But from the time we won the election to now, we've had numbers of recruitment, the likes of which we've never had. Record recruitment in every single branch, and that includes police and firemen. Record recruitment, so we're very proud of that. Thank you. Great job. Thank you, sir. Kelly, please.
Mr. President, you have made us a nation of builders again. You're leading us to the greatest economy that the world has ever known, and I see that every week as I travel this country, main streets across dozens of states, from Alaska to Maine. I've been in many of those states 2 or 3 times. I hear it everywhere I go. Please thank the president for putting us back on track. They thank you, they love you, they want more of what we're doing, tax cuts, deregulation, fair trade, energy dominance. Small businesses are spring-loaded, and we see that in the jobs numbers. In the last 2 months alone, We've created over 300,000 private sector jobs in this country. Most jobs are created by small businesses, 2 out of 3. And small businesses, as you know, make up 99% of all businesses in this country and account for half of our GDP. So when that part of the economy is finally working again, they've gotten out from $5 trillion of regulation that the Biden administration put on hardworking small businesses. They penalized growth, investment, hard work, and success. But thanks to the working family tax cuts that every single Democrat voted against, hardworking families, the welders, the waitresses that I meet on factory floors across this country, from Pennsylvania to New Mexico, where I'll be tomorrow. Brooke and I are going to Arizona tonight. So we see this everywhere we go. It's one of the most underreported stories in the media. Main Street is back, and that's because America first. I'll tell you the other thing about fraud. Small businesses are particularly hurt by the fraud because they're some of our biggest taxpayers in the country. And they show up every day. They work hard to provide for their employees, to build their businesses. They're doing it the honest way. And they see fraudsters taking from the American people. It's taxpayer money. And so you think about, at the SBA, we found $200 billion in fraudulent PPP loans that the Biden administration tried to hide and forgive and sweep under the rug. We've turned the first $22 billion of that over to Treasury for collections and to DOJ for prosecution. Our Inspector General is already announcing that people are going to jail. There are jail sentences now being served. We've announced that 140,000 people have been barred from ever getting SBA loans again, defrauding the government for about $9 billion. So we are going to continue our work under the great leadership of Vice President Vance and appreciate the partnership because it's really accelerated our ability to get the job done. But then just back to small businesses. We have record business formation in this country. That's another story that the media won't tell you. Over 500,000 businesses on average a month this year. So it's not just record people working, strong job creation, business formation at all-time records in this country, but we have manufacturing expansion 4 consecutive months. That means that's a leading indicator, meaning that we have expansion coming. Another story the media won't tell you, 98% of all manufacturers are small businesses. 75% of our defense industrial base is small business. They're our main exporters. And so America first, free trade, fair trade, deregulation, tax cuts, and energy dominance is helping workers on Main Street, and that's why they tell you to tell me to tell you, Mr. President, thank you, and they love you.
Well, thank you very much. Great job. Thank you, Kelly. And I just say, we went to China last week. We had an amazing meeting with President Xi. The relationship's very good. We're doing a lot of business with China now, but it's not where they were ripping us off. For years and years, they ripped us off like nobody ever got ripped off. Now it's a very profitable business that we do with China. And they respect our country again. We have the strongest military in the world by far, and they respect our country again. Scott, please.
Sir, on the economy, 2 words, resilience and prosperity. The continued resilience of the economy speaks for itself, even during the Iran conflict. And it speaks to the strength of your leadership. Pro-growth policies are creating conditions for American families and businesses to prosper. We're entering the second half of our 250th anniversary year with renewed optimism and momentum. It has never been a better time to be an American. And as you said earlier, we have a record number of Americans working. The economy that you are building is not only strong, but secure and resilient and better positioned to compete globally. Real GDP has risen 2.7% over the past 4 quarters, something that many economists said couldn't be done. In the first quarter of 2026, despite the Iran conflict, GDP grew at a 2% annual rate. The Atlanta Fed GDP now is predicting 4.3% for this quarter. In terms of prices, I believe the prices are transitory. Oil will be lower than pre-conflict levels when this ends. Natural gas is already down, as you mentioned. Drug and pharmaceutical prices, they are plummeting, and rent is down. We are more resilient to energy price fluctuations due to your energy dominance agenda, deregulatory efforts, and we have never sold so much energy to the rest of the world. Business investment rose at a 10.4% annual rate in the first quarter. Capital expenditures and business equipment rose more than 17%, and that is as a result of the tax bill and tariffs. Jobs related to commercial construction, factory construction, are up 90,000 since your inauguration. In the past 2 months, the private sector, as Kelly said, has added 313,000 new jobs, and those are private sector jobs, sir, including 13,000 manufacturing jobs. We have construction jobs, we're building the factories, and those will turn into manufacturing jobs. The stock market has hit new highs. The stock market lives in the future. It is seeing on the other side of this conflict, it is a strong symbol of optimism for the future. Corporate earnings are high and wages are doing well. For the tax season, we had the best tax filing season in history, which is a victory for Main Street. The average refund was nearly $3,300, 11% increase from last tax filing season, and importantly, 62 million returns had one of your 4 signature policies: no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. They reduced taxes. 85% of our seniors paid no taxes on Social Security, and the deductibility of auto loans for American-made cars. For what I believe is the most important government benefit for young people since the GI Bill, the Trump accounts. The app will be available on all major platforms tomorrow morning, and it will place the American dreams into the palms of the hands of parents and children. Nearly 6 million kids have been signed up for Trump accounts, and they will launch on July 4th, and it will be a great symbol of the 250th anniversary. Main Street prosperity, workers have seen positive wage gains. The unemployment rate remains low at 4.3%, and private sector job growth is strong. So just to reiterate, resilience and prosperity have been the marks of your second term.
It's been great. It's been amazing, actually. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. President. Iris Tao with NTV Sister Media with the Epoch Times. We've done a lot to clean up DC and fight crimes here, and as a lot of Americans and people from all around the world are coming to the nation's capital ahead of the major 250th birthday events here, how important is it for you to really keep delivering on these results, but also what does it mean for America's identity on the national and international stage?
So I'm very proud of DC because when we came here a little more than a year ago, it was a very dangerous place, and now it's a very safe place. It's been incredible what's happened as you see the crime numbers. We had restaurants closing up and nobody wanted to go to a restaurant. They were afraid to walk to work. It was very, very dangerous place, very unsafe. And now it's a very safe place. We brought in the National Guard. We worked with Cash and the FBI, and Janine is doing fantastically, and Todd, and everybody. And it's now a very safe city, and people are pouring in, and you see the grass is all beautiful. We put a lot of new grass in because, you know, like people, grass has a life too. And this grass, and it was about a long time. But the waterfalls we talked about and the fountains, most of them are in the final stages or fixed. People are writing me letters. People are talking about it. We have some of the most beautiful fountains in the world, and there wasn't one, not one, that worked. We had 29. Out of the 29, not one was worked, in addition to the reflecting pool, which is even, that was the big one of them all, but that was a disaster. So with all of that, and this place is looking beautiful. I rode through it yesterday. Where the fences are down, the homeless aren't staying here any longer. We're helping them out, but we're not, we just can't have them in the nation's capital. And when foreign dignitaries come in, they're saying, the first thing they say to me, this place has really changed. They saw that it was going down. Our whole country was going down, just like DC was going down. And as you know, the restaurants were closing up. There weren't very many restaurants, and now they're opening up. You can't get a space. And everyone's going out to dinner and they're safe. And we had the national security and we have the National Guard, and we're going to keep them. I want to, by the way, just in case I mentioned, keep them. Okay. And don't lower the number either. So somebody said, are there less? I said, I hope not, but don't lower the number if you don't mind, okay?
We're going to surge this summer, too. Yeah.
They look great. You know what? They give people. We took out 5,000 criminals, hardcore criminals. By the way, 90% of the crime is calculated. They count 2% of the people do 90% of the crime. That's a great number. Because when you get rid of 2%, 2% you can get rid of. 90% you can't get rid of, 2%. So 2% create 90% of the crime, 91% actually, to be exact. And we moved 5,000 people, Todd, out of here. These are career criminals. Many of them came over from the last administration through the open border, the ridiculous open border, no vetting, nobody knew who they were. They came out of prisons, they're drug dealers, there were people from mental institutions. And Washington, D.C. is now a safe and beautiful place. And it's only going to get more beautiful. Yeah, please.
President Trump, thank you so much for having us in here today. What are your thoughts? Why do you think that Joe Biden is trying to sue the Department of Justice, former President Joe Biden, to have his tapes that he did interviews on blocked from the American people hearing them? Do you think that he's trying to hide something? And maybe Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche could comment on if they will countersue and release those tapes to the American public.
Are you talking about it with respect to his book?
With respect to
well, I'd like to see it. I don't know. Maybe there's some constitutional reason. I don't know. I would like to see what he has to say, because we can never allow what happened to this country to happen. The man was grossly incompetent, and the Democrats, I call them the Democrats because the policy is so bad, but they came very close to destroying our country. We can never let it happen again, and I hope that you're able to produce that. I think it would be very interesting reading for people.
Mr. President, Iran wants control of the Strait of Hormuz. Would you accept a short-term deal that allows Iran and Oman to control the strait? And would they have to open it immediately, or would you be open to that happening over a period of time?
No, the strait's going to be open to everybody.
And who would control it?
It's international waters. Nobody's going to control it. We're going to watch over it. We'll watch over it, but nobody's going to control it. That's part of the negotiation that we have. They would like to control it. Nobody's going to control it. It's international waters, and Oman will behave just like everybody else, so we'll have to blow them up. They understand that. They'll be fine.
Mr. President, thank you. How much economic pressure do you feel to get the Strait of Hormuz open?
Well, you have to say, the United States has so much oil that we are an exporter of oil. So we have plenty of oil. We're very lucky. We're blessed with the greatest piece of land in the world from that standpoint, and we have more than anybody else. And now when you add Venezuela to it, we have, I think, 64% of the world's oil. And we're getting along very well with Venezuela, by the way. It's being run really beautifully. The big companies are moving in. It's going to be amazing, because it's also, like us, they're very blessed in that sense. But we have natural energy that no other country has. We have more than anybody else. So it's really a world problem, because most of the world doesn't have that. And we're making it available. During the closing, I don't know if you've seen some of the satellite pictures, boats, hundreds of boats lined up. It looks like, I used to say, the Long Island Expressway with cars. They're lined up, and they're coming to Texas, Louisiana, they're coming to Alaska to fill up their boat, their big boat. Some of them are really big, 2 billion gallons, even bigger than that now they make them. They make them up to 4, Chris, I hear. Now they make them up to 4. The 4 are now the big ones. Used to be the 1s. Now it's 4 million barrels of, think of that, 4 million barrels of oil in one boat. But they're lined up, and they're right now heading to Texas, and they've already filled up, and they've gone back. In addition to that, you have a lot of boats, you have about 1,500 boats in the strait wanting to get out, and at the right time we'll release them.
But the American people, sir, are seeing higher gas prices.
Yeah, they are.
It's come down a little bit, but it's still $4.
No, it's come down. Oh, it'll come down a lot. It'll come down to where it was before. We had it when I was in Iowa. We had we're driving by, and we saw gas stations, $1.90 a gallon, $1.85, $1.87 were the three that we saw. We had it down in some places below. Now, we can't help at California, where they charge so much tax that you lower it and they charge tax. They've got to straighten the act out in California. But we had gasoline down to a very low number. I think we'll be hitting that number shortly after that whole excursion ends.
Does that give you more urgency?
But regardless of anything, as Marco said better than anybody can say it, you can't let them have a nuclear weapon. They would use it instantly. They wouldn't think about it. They would use it instantly. I've gotten to know them. They would use it instantly.
Does that give you more urgency, Mr. President? You've said that you're in no rush to make a deal, but with gas prices that are so high across the country, people are paying more for travel. Does that give you more urgency to make a deal? Why doesn't it?
Well, I'll tell you the primary urgency I have. I said this, it wasn't covered properly, but the primary urgency is that we can't let Iran have a nuclear weapon. But at the same time, we have a tremendous amount of oil, gas, coal. We have tremendous amounts of energy. We're blessed with something very special. Those prices are going to come down. They're going to come down fast. I think that you'll see, actually, Todd, I think you're going to see lower prices that we had even before we did this. Now, I knew there'd be an increase. I said, we have a choice. We don't have to do anything. And in 2 years or 1 year or 2 months, because Iran would have had if we didn't hit them with the B-2 bombers, Iran would have had a nuclear weapon within 2 weeks from that date, because they were ready to go. And if they had a nuclear weapon, it would have been used already. It also would have been used had I not terminated the Obama deal, the Iran nuclear deal, as we call it. That was in my first term. Had I not terminated that, they would have had a nuclear weapon a long time ago. I would say it was a guarantee that it would have been used. And it would have blown up Israel. It would have blown up the entire Middle East. And that's never going to happen. Yeah, please.
On Iran, would you be comfortable with Russia or China taking their stockpile of highly enriched uranium, and have they offered?
No, I wouldn't be comfortable. That would not make me comfortable.
Is the U.S. considering easing sanctions on Iran to allow Iran to sell its crude to market?
No, we're not talking about any easing of sanctions or giving money. No sanctions, no money, no nothing. We have control of money that they claim is theirs. We'll keep control of that money. And when they behave properly and when they do what's right, we'll let them have their money. But right now, we're not doing that, and it's not. One thing is not contingent on the other.
Mr. President, on the shooting last weekend, it came barely a month after the third assassination attempt against you during the White House First Women's Dinner. What was your reaction when you first heard about the latest shooting, and what gives you the courage to really keep doing your job effectively without thinking about these threats every day?
Well, I can't think about it, because if I thought about it a lot, I wouldn't be a very good president. I wouldn't be here, probably. I'd be up in some room with a locked door and said, just leave me alone. So I can't really think about it. It's just something that it's a sad part of life. It's a dangerous business. What I'm doing is a dangerous business. And they say, and look, we have been maybe the most consequential, but we certainly have been one of the most consequential. This group has been a very consequential administration. And they say if you're not consequential, you don't have so much problem. If you are consequential, you do. So you have to look at that. But it's a shame. It's a very sad fact of life. Look, anybody in office, not only in this country, in other countries too, but when you are a consequential president, your life is in grave danger. I knew that. Yeah.
Mr. President, how would you characterize the current state of the talks with Iran? I guess if it were a football field, what yard line would you be on?
Well, I think we're doing very well. They are starting to give us the things that they have to give us, and if they do, that's great. And if they won't, then the man on my left is going to finish them off.
Is there a time frame in your mind?
What?
Is there a time frame in your mind for?
I mean, it happens quickly. The problem is every time I mention a time frame, for instance, I see, we've been doing this for a few months. Vietnam lasted 19 years. Korea lasted 8 years. Afghanistan lasted many years. They were all many, many years, and we're into it for a few months. And I read about you people like you. What's taking so long? But we're in it. We lost between two big wars, Venezuela and Iran. We lost 13 souls, 13 great people. Met the parents, great people. And it's a terrible thing, but 13. If you look at the war casualties and the deaths in wars for Vietnam and all that, they lost hundreds of thousands of people in numerous of these wars. We're very cognizant of that. We want to lose very few. We want very few to be injured. We're very careful. But war is war. War's dangerous. But we've lost 13. I saw that the Democrats took an ad putting in the 13 people that were lost. And when you look at hundreds of thousands of people that were lost in the Middle East, Iraq, all the different wars we were in, we have done an amazing job. With that being said, I hate to lose 13. I hate to lose one. But we've been very we've been very capable. I mean, when you think of it, we took over Venezuela in one day. We have done a similar job, but we said we'll give them a little chance at the request of somebody that we greatly respect from Pakistan, the Field Marshal and the Prime Minister. They've been great. They asked us, would we pause the war for a little while because they'd like to, so we'll do that. But we had them beat. They're, no better now. We could close it out very quickly. If we can do it in a different way, that'd be good. If we get everything we want, but we could close that out very, very quickly, and we may have to. I don't think so, but we may have to.
Mr. President, ask about the World Cup, if I could.
Yeah.
The U.S. spent a lot of money getting the World Cup here and increasing the infrastructure. Does the economic benefit outweigh the cost?
No, the World Cup is great. It's the most successful they've ever had, ticket-wise. They've never had anything that sold so quickly. It's amazing because it's the United States. You don't think of I call it soccer. It's just easier to do because we have football and they have two footballs, right? They call it football. But most people never thought they'd see anything like that. The World Cup, it's turned out to be the most successful World Cup from the standpoint of what's happening than they've ever had. Yeah, please.
Thank you so much. Rowan Ortiz with Turning Point USA. I have one question for you and one question for Vice President J.D. Vance on fraud. What's your message to the New Jersey leaders pushing back against ICE operations at Delaney Hall?
About ICE?
Yes.
Or about NICE, as I call it, NICE. The NICE facility. I'd love to change the name, call it NICE. They do a great job, and it's all paid for protesters. You can see by the signs. The signs are all made by the same beautiful factory. It's a printing plant. In fact, I'm thinking about using it. They do such a nice job. These aren't protesters. These people are fake. They're all paid for. And I will tell you, Tom Holman and that whole group, and now Mark Wayne is so incredible. Mark Wayne, do you want to just respond to that? We run the finest facilities anywhere in the world of their type. But we have some horrible killers. We have killers. We have guys that have murdered numerous people in there. And these are the people they're trying to protect. There's nobody that runs a facility like we do. Mark Wayne, please.
Yeah, it shows that this radical left Democrats' priorities when they decide to go out and protest a detention center where we're housing rapists, child predators, murderers, drug dealers, and they choose Memorial Day of all the time to go protest something that they say that that it's because they're on a hunger strike when there was only a handful of individuals that was refusing to eat because they want their ethnic group or their ethnic right food. Well, they can go back to their country and get whatever food they want. The fact is, we're giving them the calories they want. This isn't Holiday Inn. We're giving them sanitation. But for the Democrats and the governor, like Governor Sherrill and Senator Kim and Senator Booker, to go out and do something like this of all the days is very frustrating. And we see Antifa signs are literally out there. The local police literally refusing to respond. They barricade it, not allowing our employees to come in and out. ICE has to go out there, remove the barricade, and then you have one of the senators complain because he got splattered with a pepper ball. I'm sorry, you probably shouldn't have been there.
One thing I'll say about that, the local police, I know a lot of the New Jersey police, they're phenomenal. They love us, but they're told not to do anything.
That's right.
They love us. They love him. They even love me a lot. And I'm in New Jersey a lot. It's great. I mean, I think it's a great place. It's got a group of people running it now that are having a hard time. But they really like this administration. They love this administration more than any administration they've ever had. And they're thanking me all the time. And, I see those guys going up and down the Jersey Turnpike with their big, beautiful hats on. I say, I'd like to look like that someday. They're great. No, these are great people, and they love him, and they love ICE, and they love the Border Patrol, and they're not allowed to talk to anybody. It's like, but it all comes from the top. They have to follow orders. They want to keep their jobs.
Mr. President, are you expecting Congress to pass a federal gas tax holiday?
A gas tax holiday?
Yeah, to suspend federal.
Well, it's something we might talk about. Let's see what happens over the next week, 2 weeks. A lot of good things are happening.
So are you going to the next meeting next week?
No, I was invited to I was going to go on Wednesday, but they closed it out very quickly. They're great. And Jim Dolan's a great guy. He's, as you know, owns and in charge of Madison Square Garden. He's having a good year. boy, what a team. They win all their games. They have some great players. I think I'll be going to one of the games. I was invited by numerous people and Jim, and I think I'll be going. It's great to see it. You know, the Knicks have really, they've really suffered for years, and they're doing right. They're doing right now very well.
Would you accept an agreement with Iran that just calls for further talks on the uranium? Or
No.
is the only option?
No, the
not
basics.
on-
No, I would for some of it, because it's a memorandum of understanding for speed. One of the things that will happen is the strait will open immediately, but it's got to be perfect. I'm not going to do this. I didn't do this to get a crummy agreement. The worst agreement ever signed was by Barack Hussein Obama. What a horrible agreement that was. It was a setback for this country, for the whole world. The Middle East would have blown itself up. No, I would like to have the countries we were talking about with Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, and the others. We'd like to have them immediately join and Steve Witkoff is working on that with Jared and some others, but would like to have them join the Abraham Accords. It'll be historic if they do it. And I think they owe that to us, to be honest. I think, because that really would be a tremendous sign. And I think those countries owe it to us. Steve, are you going to get them to sign?
We're definitely pushing it, Mr. President.
I'm not sure we should make the deal if they don't sign. You want to know the truth. If they don't sign to join the Abraham Accords, I don't know that we have countries in there already. UAE, great countries, bold countries. And it's turned out to be so good, so effective. And so we're, requesting strongly that they join. It'll be great. It'll be great for Saudi Arabia. It'll be great for Qatar and Kuwait, the whole group.
So the Iran deal might be contingent on more countries joining.
I don't know. I don't want to say that. I'm not going to give you, what's contingent, what's not. I can say that we can make a good deal right now, but maybe not a great deal. And if it's not a great deal, we're not making it. So because we can make a great deal with this guy right here, and but it's it's a lot nastier. Probably wouldn't go as quickly. We wouldn't be talking about as quickly, but it would be foolproof. But I think we're doing very well, Steve. I think we're doing pretty well in terms of the negotiation, but we'll see. If it's not going to be a real deal, because Obama had that horrible JCPOA, whatever it was the worst deal. It was a path for Iran to have a nuclear weapon very quickly. Years ago, they would have had a nuclear weapon. We might not be here talking about it right now. They would have had a nuclear weapon. And frankly, Obama picked the wrong country. He should have picked another country. I won't tell you what it was. But he picked the wrong country when he picked Iran. But we have things understood now with Iran. It's been nasty. They've lost their leaders. And it really is regime change. We didn't set out for regime change. But by the fact that we're dealing with a totally different group of people than we were at the beginning. And frankly, I find them to be much more reasonable. I actually find them to be smarter, but I find them to be much more reasonable. This is regime change. One regime is gone, another regime is gone, we're dealing with the third. Pieces of it, because some of them are gone too. And I find them, I think, how can you have a stronger regime change than that, So I do find that. I'd like to thank you all very much. We're doing great. Our country is doing fantastically well, and this group of people is outstanding. Thank you all very much.
All right. We got one more thing to watch. It's going to be the J.D. Vance had a sort of a town hall yesterday about fraud. Here we go. This will be the last thing for the day. Here we go.
Good. Thank you all for being here. Please take a seat. Okay, so what we're going to do is make some introductory remarks from me, from Andrew Ferguson, and from Stephen Miller, and then we'll kick out the press and have the real conversation. But first, let me say thanks to all of you for being here. Very gratified and proud of the fact that we have 15 different state AG offices represented here today who are focused on helping us in combating fraud all over our government. And let me be very brief here about what we're trying to do here. So one of the things we've realized in combating fraud is that the resources of the federal government, while vast, can be supplemented and aided by a lot of the people who know best what's happening in their states, which is the attorneys general represented here today. And they have a lot of legal resources, they have a lot of prosecutorial resources, and of course they have the desire to prevent fraud as much as we do. And so I appreciate these leaders for being here, because we're going to work together, state and federal government, to try to combat fraud. I'm particularly gratified here that this is not a partisan effort. I believe we have a couple of representatives from the attorney generals in Connecticut and Oregon. And as I've said repeatedly, this should not be a partisan effort. Everybody should care about fraud. Everybody should care about rooting out fraud. Everybody should care about saving the American taxpayers' money. And importantly, everybody should care about actually protecting the programs that only work and are only properly funded if the money funding those programs isn't being stolen by fraudsters. So let me just recap for the benefit of our friends in the media. In just 2 months, we exposed billions of dollars in benefits that had been stolen from the American people. We referred over $22 billion in fraudulent small business loans back to the Treasury for collection. We deferred more than $1.3 billion in fraudulent Medicaid reimbursements that were coming from various states, particularly California. We put a 6-month hold on enrollments for new hospice and home health care providers, because so many of the newer hospice providers were not actually providing hospice services, but were just focused on fraud. So we're going to cut that out for a little bit and try to get to a place where we can actually certify that the people providing hospice services are actually providing those very necessary and important services. We recovered taxpayer funds from the $135 billion stolen after the floodgates were open in the immediate aftermath of COVID. We have found $6.3 billion in suspected fraudulent government contracts, which were mostly awarded during the last administration, and that has stopped. And finally, we blocked $60 million in student aid fraud that should have gone to young people trying to get an education, but instead we're going to fraudsters. And I think the theme here of the Anti-Fraud Task Force up to this point has really been that we're protecting two classes of victims here. We're protecting the American taxpayers who shouldn't have their money stolen by fraudsters. And of course, we're protecting the people who need these services. Fraud is not a victimless crime. This is not somebody gets to make some money for violating the law, and otherwise it's not a big deal. This is people who rely on critical services, students who rely on student loan services, sick people who rely on hospice care, a number of small businesses who rely on the availability of these loans so that they can grow their business and hire people. All of these people, all of our fellow Americans, have been taken advantage by fraudsters, and the task force is here to stop it. So without further ado, let me kick it over to Andrew Ferguson, who's going to talk a little bit about how we're going to work with these state attorneys general. And it's attorneys general, right? Not attorney generals. It's very counterintuitive. We got to change this. Maybe the group here together, we've got enough of a critical mass of attorneys generals to change it. But Andrew, attorneys general, I'm never going to be able to get that right. And the media, of course, is going to make fun of me for it. Andrew, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President, and welcome to all the state attorneys general. I'm very grateful you've traveled all this way to discuss one of the most pressing problems this nation confronts. When I was Solicitor General of Virginia, I served alongside many of you and fought against the Biden administration to protect our border, our religious liberty, and our right to keep and bear arms. And today we're here to talk about another problem that we need to partner with you to fight, that the Obama administration and Biden administration made much worse, which is widespread fraud against our benefits programs. Our benefits programs and our whole society was designed for a high-trust people. The American people rightly expect that their fellow citizens will deal with them and with the government honestly and fairly. That's why for up until the last decade or so, shelves in our grocery stores and our pharmacies were open and readily accessible. We weren't accustomed to seeing security guards outside of banks or jewelry stores. We didn't have to worry about organized retail theft or industrial scale scammers of the type you all protect your citizens from every day. Nor did we have to worry about piratical fraudsters raiding our benefits program. But sadly, that is no longer true. It's become clear that huge groups of people in this country are taking advantage of our longstanding culture of trust to enrich themselves at the expense of the American people. I think a brief example would be illustrative. Just this weekend, I was shopping at a big home improvement store to buy a drill to do some home improvement. And I had to hit a call button and wait 15 minutes for a sales associate to come unlock a steel cage and a steel padlock to get access to a drill. It's why deodorant is now locked behind plastic windows at pharmacies. It's why security guards are seen at every store in America. The social trust has evaporated and people are taking advantage of it, and the same is true with our federal benefits programs. Huge segments of the population have decided to take advantage of this generosity and trust of American citizens through deception and fraud, and billions of dollars each year leave our programs into the hands of pirates, fraudsters, scammers, and gangs who treat American generosity as little more than a get-quick-rich scheme. We shouldn't have to live this way. American people are right to long for a period where we could trust each other. But while we are living this way, the government must act now to protect American citizens and their social programs. That is why President Trump has focused on this issue, and that is why the president selected the Vice President of the United States, a man who sits atop the rest of the government to coordinate the entire federal government's efforts to stop fraud in all of our benefits programs. And that requires us to do two things. First, we have to build protections within the programs to make sure taxpayer dollars don't enter the hands of fraudsters. That's what the task force under the Vice President's leadership has been doing for months. With our agency partners, we've uncovered tens of billions of dollars in fraud and prevented billions from going out the door into the pockets of fraudsters. For agencies that had robust anti-fraud systems that the Biden administration turned off, the task force and the agencies have turned them back on and prevented billions of dollars from leaving the agencies. And for the agencies that didn't have those systems, the task force has come alongside them and harnessed the power of American AI innovation to build automated systems to keep that money in the agency. It saves thousands of man-hours every year and billions of dollars that otherwise would exit the agencies and enter the hands of fraudsters. But the second thing we must do, and the reason we brought you all here, is that we must restore deterrence by finding, prosecuting, and punishing fraudsters. Unless fraudsters believe that there will be consequences attached with attacking America's benefits programs, they will keep doing it. Our fraud detection systems will stop much of it, but cannot stop it all. The only way to defeat the fraudsters is by making sure that they know, every single one of them, that if they try to commit fraud, they will be pursued, arrested, prosecuted, and jailed. And that is why the Department of Justice has created the brand new National Fraud Enforcement Division to coordinate the federal government's anti-fraud law enforcement efforts along with the task force and the Homeland Security Council. And this is where you come in. The federal government wants to partner with all of you to combat this fraud. All of you controlled your state Medicaid fraud control units. All of your Medicaid fraud control unit lawyers are on the front line of the war against fraud. It is extremely important that they be effective, ready to fight as much fraud as they can, and that's why HHS will be conducting a thorough review of all of your Medicaid fraud control units to ensure that the nearly $500 million that the American taxpayers give you every year to fight fraud will be used to fight as much fraud as possible. Now, in a moment, the head of the Fraud Division, Assistant Attorney General Colin McDonald, will explain all of the ways that state AGs and DOJ can partner to coordinate and cooperate and put as many fraudsters in jail as possible. But before I close, I just want to remind all of us why this really matters. This isn't just about restoring social trust in America. This is about saving these programs so that your constituents who have paid for them can actually use them when they need them. Fraud is bleeding these programs dry. We've seen countless of examples in this task force of Americans trying to use their benefits they've been paying for decades, only to find out that some fraudster has stolen those benefits and they're not available to them anymore. Just last week, the Department of Justice, under Assistant Attorney General McDonald's leadership, indicted 15 fraudsters in Minnesota. There, the fraud had gotten so bad that a major program designed to protect Americans from homelessness, including veterans, had to be shut down. It was so riddled with fraud, it could not be maintained. Your constituents are American citizens paying for these programs. They expect these programs to be there when they need them, and unless we stop the fraud, these programs will not be around in their current form for your constituents to use when they hit hard times, just as they've wanted to make them available for their neighbors in the same circumstances. So I encourage all of you, partner with us, partner with the department, partner with the task force, make your Medicaid fraud control units the elite fraud-fighting forces that they are intended to be. And with that, I'll turn it over to the Deputy Chief of Staff and Homeland Security Advisor, Stephen Miller.
Thank you. And thank you again to the Vice President for leading this effort, for helming this task force, for bringing us all together here. I think you can all agree that this is the fastest in history that a government task force has traveled from creation to action. Your typical lead time is going to be a year of meetings before anything happens, and that's if you're lucky. And within weeks of this task force being established, we've seen the largest ever slate of indictments, recovered funds, search warrants, raids, seizures, investigations, and new legal actions to stop, disrupt, and prevent fraud. What we've learned, which is not surprising to those of us who spent some time in this area, is that fraud is every bit as bad as President Trump said it was, and even worse. So in other words, everything we found either confirms our worst fears or exceeds them. That's the bad news. The good news is that the best team in government under the leadership of Vice President Vance has been assembled to deal with it. And of course, one of those men who you'll hear from in a second is sitting to my right here, the Associate Attorney General for Fraud Enforcement, Colin McDonald. But before I yield the floor, I do want to just touch on one of the points that Andrew hit on in his remarks. All of the systems in our country, whether you're talking about voting, whether you're talking about entitlements, whether you're talking about welfare benefits, were set up based on the honor system. They're set up based on the idea that you could trust the average person through their own morality to abide by the rules and comply with the law. And so the way most welfare works in most states and most places is we take your word for it. If you fill out a piece of paper and you say your kids are hungry, you are going to get food stamps. We don't check as a country if you even have kids. In fact, as basic as that. We don't even check if you even have children. You will just start getting the checks. And so what's happened to our country is we became a society, as we've seen with the Somali refugee problem in Minnesota, where you have a large number of people that are not following the honor system. They're not playing by the rules. They're not abiding by our laws. And the amount that has been fleeced from us is in the hundreds of billions of dollars. I believe, based on what I've seen and what I've heard, is that we could balance the federal budget if the only dollars that went out of the Treasury went to individuals who were properly, lawfully, correctly eligible to receive them. And that ultimately is going to be what we have to do as a country. In the meantime, because of the Vice President's leadership, you are seeing the most muscular, robust, aggressive, dedicated, determined, and speedy effort to shut down criminal fraud that has not only ever occurred in the history of this country, but in any developed nation. So thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Colin.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. 50 days ago today, Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche announced the creation of the National Fraud Enforcement Division at the Department of Justice. And today, 50 days later, the Fraud Division has announced 450 major fraud events occurring across the country, from charges to convictions to sentences. We are off to a rapid start to protect you, the American taxpayer, and ensure that your dollars stay where they belong, and that is in your pocket. When an individual's money is stolen, that individual takes it personally and does everything they can to recover their money. This task force, under the Vice President's leadership, we are here to take it personally every time someone decides to rob the United States of their money. We are here to take it personally when someone decides to take money from a program designed to give money, food, health care to the needy, the sick, and the elderly. That is what the Fraud Division is here to do. It's to take it personally for you, the United States of America, when your money is stolen. In the last 50 days, our work includes the unprecedented charges against 15 defendants for Medicaid fraud schemes in Minnesota. It includes charges in a $650 million sober homes Medicaid fraud scheme in Arizona. It includes a guilty plea in a $270 million Medicaid fraud scheme in California. Those are just a few of the successes of the Fraud Division and the Department of Justice in the last 50 days. And we're only getting started. This is just the beginning of our fight against fraud, and that's where these partners come into play, because we need your help. Our division is called the National Fraud Enforcement Division for a reason. It's not the Washington, D.C. Fraud Task Force. It's the National Fraud Enforcement Division because the fraud problem is national, and our state partnerships are critical to solving the fraud crisis in our country. So I'm going to give 3 things that our state partners here can do right now today. Number 1, we heard about the Medicaid fraud control units. Re-energize and fully mobilize, fully maximize your state's Medicaid fraud control units. When we're done, we want to rename those into the Making Fraud Completely Unprofitable Unit, MFUCU. These units are your state's and really the country's first line of defense against Medicaid fraud. How many active investigations do they have? How many are ready to be charged? If partnered up with DOJ, how many could be charged in the next 90 days? Under your leadership, the MFUCU units can flourish. Second, join the DOJ's newly launched Special Attorneys Program. This program has unlocked $300 million to combat fraud, drug trafficking, human trafficking, and crimes committed by aliens in your state. This grant program will pay for you to send attorneys to join the Fraud Division or your local U.S. Attorney's Office. In addition to paying the full cost of prosecutors you send the DOJ, you can receive a 20% premium to boost your justice system staffing and capacity. Third, and this is critical, bring your state's investigators and data to the table. For us to bring a case, we need documents, we need witnesses. Bring your documents and bring your witnesses to the table. Don't run with your ball and go home. Come to the table and solve this problem with us. Your state's data, including Medicaid payment and claims records, and the expertise of your investigators are essential to uncovering fraud. We've developed a successful playbook for exploiting this kind of data to prosecute fraudsters. Next week, we'll be on the road to announce a partnership with a state that is leading the way in advancing coordination efforts with the Fraud Division. The state AG and the MFUCU unit are taking aggressive action against fraud. The state auditor, the state AG, and county prosecutors will be participating in our special attorney program, and the state treasurer and secretary of state are joining a statewide benefits fraud task force comprised of federal and state partners, which will be chaired by the U.S. Attorney's Office. And we invite you all to join us in similar efforts. It is our mission to combat fraud, no matter how big, no matter how small, no matter how hard, hold criminals accountable, protect victims of crime, and restore trust in our government. Come join us in the nationwide fight against fraud. We are ready to partner with you.
Thank you, Colin. And let me just leave one final thought here before we dismiss the press and get down to the business of the meeting. So, as Andrew very ably pointed out, these are not victimless crimes. Sometimes the most vulnerable people in our community are the ones who suffer when we don't take fraud seriously. One of the cases that was part of Colin's series of indictments last week in Minnesota stood out to me, and I think highlights how particularly egregious some of these fraudsters can be. And it's a man who was supposed to be providing services to allow elderly people to live full and independent lives. And what happened instead is that the man who was supposed to provide these services, reimbursed by the Medicaid program, was providing nothing. No services, no help, no check-ins, and the very man, the vulnerable elderly man that he was supposed to be protecting and looking after, was reimbursed by the taxpayer in order to do exactly that. That man died. And one day before he died, after months of being neglected by the caretaker who was getting reimbursed by the American people, one day before he died, he submitted his final reimbursement for services he never provided for a man he never cared for. And that man lived his final moments on this earth neglected while a fraudster got rich by providing services that he never actually provided. That's what we're trying to stop, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we have to fight back against. It's a shame that anything like that happens. But if it does happen, the only way to protect those people and the only way to protect the American taxpayer is to ensure that the fraudsters go to prison and that they stop this ridiculous scam on the American people. So with that, I'm looking forward to the meeting. Thank you, press. We're going to talk in private now. Take care, guys.
All right, guys, thank you for being here. If you're new, please give me a follow. Remember, I've got multiple channels. Where we at? There we are. I've got this channel here, Frank's Show Clips, as well as Frank's Funny Shorts. Links in the description. I also made another one called Frank's Show Shorts. But I'm working on that right now, okay? We're going to be moving shorts. We're not moving them, but shorts going forward are going to be on that fourth channel. So anyways, give us a follow. By the way, if you're gonna hype videos, please do it on that channel right there, Frank Show Clips. Smaller channels get more points when you hype them there. If you hype the big channel here, it's like 100 points. Doesn't even make a difference. So they only get 3 a week. So anyways, guys, have a great day. See you tomorrow. I do a show noon Eastern daily. See you guys tomorrow. Bye. Bye, Lisa.